Police are investigating a case of murder after a 35-year-old woman was shot near the CCMA offices in the Joburg CBD. Preliminary reports indicate that she was followed by two unknown gunmen near the corner of Jouberton before she was shot. Eyewitnesses say the suspects ran off on foot. After that shooting, it is believed the woman is a legal representative for a matter which is currently sitting at the Commission. The Health Ombudsman has found critical safety failures contributed to the death of a psychiatric patient at the George Mukhari Academic Hospital. This is contained in findings from a probe into the death of Lerato Mohlame in 2024. Mohlame died in a fire at the hospital while 17 other patients had been evacuated from the ward. The findings were released today as part of an investigation into patient safety incidents in Gauteng. Mongezi Gogo reports.
The Ombud's report found that fire safety warnings raised by patients were ignored and that emergency systems at the facility failed. Locked emergency exits, missing keys and a lack of disaster management measures meant staff were unprepared to respond effectively. A post-mortem confirmed that Mohlame was alive when the fire broke out, with injuries consistent with smoke inhalation. The investigation also found that she had access to a lighter which may have started the fire, raising further questions about supervision in the ward. Health Ombud Professor Taule Mokwena.
The psychiatric unit is currently not fit for purpose, and it is imperative that it must be refurbished.
Mokwena has called for urgent infrastructure upgrades, including fire safety equipment, and says the facility may need to be rebuilt. Mongezi Gogo, Eyewitness News.
The South African Federation of Trade Unions says workers are struggling with the high cost of living. General Secretary Zwelinzima Vavi says the fuel price hikes on the cards will only make the situation worse. Vavi has been speaking at the Labour School in Pretoria, where Labour federations have been meeting to thrash out challenges facing workers today. The Central Energy Fund estimates that the price of petrol could increase by at least R5 a litre next week on the back of higher oil prices and a weaker rand. This comes as the fuel levy is also set to rise by 8 and 9 cents per litre for petrol and diesel respectively.
We can't breathe. That's all we can say. We can't breathe. And because wages of workers have been kept low deliberately. People blame us with too strong unions and all of that. But the reality is that wages have been suppressed in South Africa since before 1990, basically. And the wages of the CEOs continues to break the world records. There's no justice.
Johannesburg Emergency Service says its teams are on high alert as wet weather conditions persist. Authorities are urging residents in low-lying areas to be cautious. The South African Weather Service has issued a yellow level 2 warning for severe thunderstorms. Forecaster Tukelo Chilwane says rainy weather will persist into tomorrow.
Gauteng will remain mostly cloudy and cool with a 60% chance of showers and thunder showers today and tomorrow. The South African Weather Service has issued a yellow level 2 warning for severe thunderstorms over the province for both days. Similar conditions are expected throughout the week, with rainfall probabilities ranging between 30% and 60%.
And U.S. President Donald Trump says he has ordered a halt to his threatened strikes on Iranian energy infrastructure. Trump took to his Truth social media platform to make the announcement today. He says that decision was taken after very good and productive talks with Tehran. The latest development comes as talks and negotiations are set to continue this week. He says he has instructed the Department of War to postpone the military strikes for a period of 5 days. The conflict in the Middle East escalated last month when the U.S. and Israel attacked Iran, resulting in retaliatory attacks in the Gulf region. Well, gold is trading at $4,425.12 an ounce. The rand is at 16.85 to the dollar, 22.55 to the pound, 19.49 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $114.05 a barrel.
Midrand heading towards Centurion, you can expect more than a 20-minute delay. This is on the N1 northbound between the Bacloon Interchange and Samrand. Traffic lights still not working in Rand Park, Richard Payers, Nordia and the N1.
In your sport, Mamelodi Sundowns through to the semi-finals of the CAF Champions League despite second leg defeat to Stade Malien. Pep Guardiola becomes the first manager to win the Carabao Cup 5 times following Manchester City's triumph over Arsenal. And Springbok women's 7-side secure World Championship qualification.
It's a cloudy afternoon in Gauteng with scattered showers and thundershowers in some parts. Temperatures have peaked at highs of between 24 and 26 degrees. The top story in EWN, Gauteng police are investigating a case of murder after a 35-year-old woman was shot near the CCMA offices in the Johannesburg CBD.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
702
Live
on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856
92.7
and 106 FM. Let's walk the talk.
Six minutes after 3 o'clock. Thanks very much for joining us. You're on 702. It's Afternoon Drive. John Perlman. My name is Thabo Shole Mashao. 702 Drive with John Perlman is proudly brought to you by Telkom Business. Possible begins here. I hope you're well. It's been quite some time since you and I connected, and I'm hoping that today, from now till 6, we will go through some news items. A bit of laughter here and there. The number to dial has not changed. 011-883. 0702. However, if you wish to send a WhatsApp message, 072-702-1702 is the number that you'd have to use. Couple of jam-packed issues that we need to look into. The Madlanga Commission, obviously. Things have been going on in that regard. Thabiso Goba will join us momentarily to reflect on those and more. The plight of domestic workers and how their dignity can be restored is something that we would want to put a spotlight on, and we'll be speaking to someone from the Dignity in Every Home campaign. You must have heard in EWN about the plight of Miss El Mohlamme, a 35-year-old female with a long-standing history of mental illness dating back to adolescent, who was brought to Dr. George Mukari Academic Hospital on 19 June 2024 by her brother-in-law, and sadly she then lost her life. The health ombuds, Professor Taule, is going to join us for that story, and also on the neonatal matter in a private hospital. Then you must have seen in the Citizen newspaper today, Papano Pasha, the commentator, political analyst, argues that the new oppressor walks together with the poor. She is criticizing the ANC for pretending to be in harmony with the poor, whilst they just create all these marches when the poor continue to suffer. That is coming just after 5 o'clock. Thanks very much for joining us, and I'm hoping that we'll hear from you as well. Always great having you. 8 minutes after 3.
Let's walk the talk.
702.
Refiwe is the producer of the show, so is Kabazela, Jonathan Fairbairn, and the technical producer is none other than Garabo, whom you know very well. She presses all these many buttons behind the scenes and makes sure that my connection and yours remains solid. The other Garabo, you know him very well. He's going to keep you updated with the traffic and everything else that's happening on the roads. We will also get news from Bali, eyewitness news updates every 30 minutes or so. Whenever news breaks, Bali will make sure that you know what's happening in and around the world. Stephen Grotes will give us some not sporting, but rather business. Does seem like sport business, doesn't it? Business news with Stephen Grotes will be with us. And of course, Tolagele is ready with your sporting news. Always great having you with us. The number again, 072-702-1702. We are also live on all our socials. If you'd like to send a comment, view, feel free to do so. Refiwe, thanks for joining us. I hope you are well. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Tavo, and to the rest of the 702 family.
I see today we're keeping it professional, no prodigal son.
I've always kept it professional.
Let's just keep it that way. I didn't open a can of worms. Thank you so much. I'm kidding. I hope you're good, Rifu.
I'm wonderful. It's always great to see you, prodigal son. How have you been?
I've been good. And Garabo, you good, man?
Welcome back, Chief. We missed you.
No, I
We
missed
the
you.
snacks and the chocolates.
So not me. It's not really me that you missed. Hey, anyway, anywho, guys, I wanted to find out from you and our listeners back at home about criticism. We are all criticized at times, and some criticisms feel like insults more than criticism. And people will take pot shots at you. They will say nasty things, good or bad, and they're meant to build you or they're meant to break you, whatever. It happens. I wanted to find out, how do you take criticism? If I were to say something bad to you, if you were, or let's put it this way, on social media, someone decides to say nasty things about you, do you take it personal or is it water on the duck's back? But before you answer, I want you to listen to this and then I'll get your response.
Why have you given this person so much power over your mind? Epictetus argues that an insult is just words that come from one person's mouth and go to your ears, and what happens next is entirely up to you. You can choose to take the words in, examine them and let them fester, or you can choose to let them pass like a breeze on the wind. If somebody succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation. The insult didn't make you angry, you made yourself angry by accepting the words were important, were true and worthy of your attention. For Epictetus, resilience wasn't having a thick skin or denying that words can be hurtful. It's recognizing that you have the power to prevent people from entering your inner fortress and deciding how you will deal with what people say.
Yeah, so Rifu, let's kick it off with you. When someone insults you or says something bad about you, or not so positive, I should say, on social media, how do you take it? Do you agonize over it days and days and say, oh, do I really have big eyes?
All right, so this is twofold. So on social media, listen, I don't know you. I don't take it personally. I could say, but I don't know you.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be like, oh, Tabo just said my ears look like cauliflowers. Even if they do, it is what it is. But I don't know you. It doesn't change the price of bread in the country or in the world. It does nothing for me.
Okay.
But I had to learn this over time.
Yeah. Initially?
When I was younger, I thought everybody liked me. Listen, you're not money. Not everybody likes you.
Yes.
So I have learned that. And then also on the criticism point, I think for me, and it's hard. I don't always get it right, but I've learned to take it with a pinch of salt and not let you sit rent-free in my head. And I'm the one that's having panic attacks, prodigal son. Not you.
Yeah.
Me. Tossing and turning on my queen-size bed by myself. So I have learned to say, you know what? It is what it is. It's okay. Haters are going to hate. Potatoes are going to potate. Rotis are going to rotate.
Okay. I don't know how we got that far. Anyway, Garabo. I don't know how.
Rotis are going to rotate. I've never heard that one. But you know the saying, Nitya Baba.
Yeah.
The truth hurts. If it's the truth, it will hurt a little bit, but it's how you take it.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
If it's the truth, I welcome it. Even though it hurts me, but then I process it and make sure that...
Does it sting, though?
It does, definitely.
But there's a way of saying this truth, though. For me, I feel like it might be the truth, but I can't say it to you in a nasty way and expect me to say, Karabo, this is... Yes.
So
Let's have
but I mean, sometimes,
the
there's truth in jest.
Yes.
Someone may be joking and saying it lightheartedly, but it may still be truth. Yeah, so does it sting?
It always stings when the truth gets you.
How long? How long does it sit with you?
For as long as it takes, eh?
Yeah.
But then it's how you deal with it. Are you going to take it positively and work on it? Or are you just going to moan and grumble and just be negative about it?
And on social media, Garabo, I mean, we get that a lot on social media.
Social media, I don't care.
Yeah.
Good.
People are faceless on social media.
Yes.
Anybody can say anything on social media. So if it's on social media,
it doesn't count.
Believe it doesn't count unless it comes from somebody I know personally.
Yeah.
Also, why would they approach you on social media? Why would they put it as a comment? Or do you mean like if they DM'd you?
No. As a comment, like maybe I posted a picture.
And
then
they
like,
said,
oh, Omobe, hey.
People calling
And
you
then
ugly on socials.
I'll be like, okay, whatever. It doesn't matter. Obviously, it's going to hurt. But then I'll also look at the picture.
Yeah, it's...
Am I really moving?
Yeah.
So, it depends how you take
Okay.
it.
Then at work, or maybe not work, in an environment where this person is right in front of you and they say nasty, not nasty, but stinging things about you.
Well, I usually just maybe distance myself from them in future. You know what hurts? It's for the young ones who don't know how to deal with these things. I remember my son used to be teased a lot for a particular... And I could see it hurt him. And as a dad, I had to encourage him and say, no, this is not the fact. You actually like this. And for kids, it's difficult. But then you grow to deal with it as you grow older. But for kids, they don't know how.
Your skin becomes thicker.
Even if as a parent, you say something, you criticize the kid in a harsh way. They get hurt.
I think the clip that we've just played also explains something very critical, because it does mention that actually if it stings, if it hurts that much, the criticism doesn't hurt. It's how you receive it. It's your mind that makes it hurt. So you are complicit. If you are heartbroken, you are complicit in it. You are playing a very active role in allowing it to be as potent as it is. It could be that it's not that much. It could be that just water on a duck's back and like, oh, you said this about, okay, cool, I move on. But we are often, I find that we are often complicit as well in allowing such things to hurt us as much. Or are we refusing responsibility to reflect when we say that?
I think it goes both ways, man. It's definitely both ways, where it does sting, like you say, and sometimes it will sit. But I think that's where you have to like sort of comb it out with a fine tooth comb. Say, okay, like Karabo was saying, is there something there? But I just think,
So I'd love to hear from you. I know you're listening from your car, from home, or from wherever you are. In 702 Land, I want to hear from you. Does it sting when people criticize you on social media or in person? And what's the worst insult that you ever received? How did you react to it? 17 after 3, this EWN traffic is brought to you by South African Airways. See just how far you can go with them. Book at flysaa.com now.
EWN traffic.
Mr. Charlie, the roads, how do they look?
Well, at this stage, wet, slippery roads in most part of 702 Land. Otherwise, things not looking too bad. However, pretty hectic in the Midrand area. Not sure why, but already there's bumper-to-bumper traffic. Expect about a 20-minute delay heading towards Centurion N1 northbound from the Butlu interchange to Samrand and Sandton. There's also heavy delays on the Butlu interchange, on the M1 northbound between Greyston and the Butlu interchange. Look out for those faulty traffic lights in Rand Park Ridge at Bearsnodia and the N1. Traffic lights also not working in Midrand at Olifantsfontein Road in the N1. If you come across any other traffic issues, kindly WhatsApp us on 072 702 1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
This is what progress sounds like. At South African Airways, we've added more aircraft to the runway, increased our flights from just over 1,000 in 2021 to over 24,000 last year. And we continue to add more destinations and routes. It's steady progress over time. We know there's still work to do, but every day we're building something stronger. An airline that shares the resilience of the country it carries. South African Airways. Book your next flight at flysaa.com today.
Clement Maniatella.
Weekday mornings,
9 to 12.
9 to 12.
A lot of our listeners are asking about our strategic oil reserves. How much do we have in that, and how long could they last us for?
We have about 8 million barrels. If you look at the consumption, that is equivalent to about a month's worth of supply.
A month?
Yes, but I have to indicate that spoke to one of the suppliers. Currently in their stock holding, they've got 2 months worth of supply, and we have 2 refineries. So those refineries do have some buffers with them.
Avafani Chifularo, the Executive Director at the Fuels Industry Association of South Africa.
Clement Maniatella.
9 to 12 on 702.
On the go and your stomach suddenly not keeping up. That burn, bloating or reflux could be symptoms of an ulcer. Stress can make it feel even worse. Alsanic offers triple action relief by coating your stomach lining with a protective layer and works for up to 6 hours. No prescription needed. Choose between suspension tablets or effervescent tablets. Keep an eye on the shelf for Alsanic. New packaging, a fresh new look outside. Same trusted relief on the inside. Visit the Alsanic Facebook page for more.
Are your nails discolored, brittle, crumbly, or appear ragged? Are they thickened or starting to lift off the nail bed? You may have a fungal nail infection, which can lead to discomfort, limit your activities, and have a negative impact on your social life because of the embarrassment. New Turbane Nail treats fungal nail infections by directly killing the fungus. It requires no filing before application and dries in about 30 seconds once applied. Ask your pharmacist about New Turbane Nail and say goodbye to fungal nail infections.
Switching to Outsurance Business Insurance was a quick process. I saved a lot of money.
Outsurance Business Insurance clients know that it pays to switch. And did you know you could get a massive 20% discount on your business insurance premium when you switch? For boutique hotels, catering companies, and all other businesses. Get a quote today and see why it pays to switch to Outsurance Business Insurance. Visit outsurance.co.za or call 08600 60,000 today. Licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
702 Podcast
on primemediaplus.com.
21 after 3. Welcome back. Thabo Sholemashao in for John Perlman. Great having you with us as we continue on the show. Feel free to participate on 011-883-0702. He's been the star of the show, or at least a spectacle, as some have named him in the social media and elsewhere. Gauteng Police Officer Sergeant Fanny Nkosi told the Madlanga Commission it was a human error that led him to omitting a link between Deputy President Paul Mashatile and a controversial businessman Vusimusi Matlala. To help us understand the story even better, Thabiso Koba from EWN joins us right away. Thabiso, thanks for joining us and welcome.
Good afternoon, Thabo. Thanks for having me.
He said it was a human error. He omitted mentioning the Deputy President Paul Mashatile and the controversial credit card that belonged to Matlala. Was he believable? And one would have thought that these things are written down. It's very difficult to miss it.
I mean, it's very difficult to forget about the Deputy President of the country. But again, this is something that he has said, throughout his testimony. It's his 7th day of testifying today. So we've sort of gotten a pattern of what kind of witness he is. And as you said, this is a matter around this credit card. There's a credit card that belongs to Matlala, and it was in the possession of Mr. Sergeant Fanny Nkosi, who's currently testifying today. And on the 8th of October last year, the police were investigating Mr. Matlala, as we know now he's currently in prison. But during that investigation, they then raided the home of Mr. Sergeant Nkosi looking for this credit card. And he testified today that he obviously got the credit card from Mr. Matlala, and that Mr. Matlala once called him this one time and said he needs the credit card back because he has a meeting with the Deputy President, Mr. Paul Mashatile, but also that he needs the card back because of his meeting with the Deputy National Police Commissioner, Mr. Shadrack Sibiya. Now, what's obviously unclear here, Thabo, is that what was that meeting about and did it ever take place? But what we do know is that on the day of the raid, which was in October last year, he made a statement where he mentioned the name of Deputy President Paul Mashatile. However, in his statements that he submitted to the Madlanga Commission, but also in the past 7 days where he has been questioned a number of times around this credit card, he hasn't mentioned the name of Paul Mashatile. So that was a bit of an issue with the evidence leader, saying that, if we didn't find the statement that you made last year,
you wouldn't have said anything.
You wouldn't have said anything. You just conveniently omitted it from your testimony.
And that omission, is there an insinuation that it could be to protect the links between Matlala and Deputy President Paul Mashatile?
I mean, I was just thinking about this when it came out, and I was just trying to look at if there's any links between the Deputy President Paul Mashatile and Matlala. I don't believe there's any links. I think this is the first time maybe we're seeing some sort of link between Deputy President Mashatile and the controversial businessman, Mr. Vusimusi Matlala. But that question was asked to Sergeant Fanny Nkosi, saying that, did you not mention his name because you're trying to protect him? And he said, no, it was a human error and it's a mistake. And unfortunately, as happened many times before, his memory failed him.
The gravitas of that statement that the card belonged to Matlala, who wanted it because of a meeting with the Deputy President, is it sufficient to warrant the Deputy President sitting in front of a commission to come and clear his name?
Well, I don't think it is. You remember that, Thabo, what's happening in the Madlanga Commission is that it's not necessarily everyone who's implicated that does have to come and testify.
Sure.
I think maybe if the implications or maybe the allegations against you are at a nature where, like Sergeant Faninkosi, where there's a nature where you do have to come and testify and clarify, then you do. But I think in this matter, the commission would have most likely have reached out to the deputy president beforehand, before today, before they go through this testimony, and maybe get a statement or some kind of reaction from him in terms of what was this meeting about, and do you have anything that you want to clear up regarding this meeting, because you're going to bring it up. So I don't think it's necessarily enough for the deputy president to come before the Madlanga Commission. I think what would most likely have happened is that they would have sought some kind of statement from the deputy president's office.
And the lack of credibility from this particular witness perhaps also weakens that point and dilutes it to an extent that he's been inconsistent. So these could be just one of those.
100%. And I mean, I don't know if we have time, but we just,
I have a minute.
Yeah, we just like, to go back to that raid. They didn't just, during that raid at his home, they didn't just find the Vusumuzi Matlala's credit card, but they also found around 380,000 rand in cash, which he couldn't explain. His explanation is that the 380,000 rand in cash, it belonged to his brother, and his brother had sold a truck. His brother has a construction company, and he sold a truck to, and it gets much more strange, he sold this truck to a gentleman by the name of Hatzlingwato. Hatzlingwato is the lawyer that's currently representing him at the Madlanga Commission.
Wow.
Now, the problem is that the sale of agreement for this sale of the truck, it's outdated. It was signed on the 19th of December, just 3 days after he made a statement to the Madlanga Commission. But there's also quite a number of anomalies which led to the evidence leader and even the co-commissioner, Mr. Sandile Khumalo, saying that this sale of agreement was drafted just after the Madlanga Commission asked you about this. That if we never asked you about why you had so much money in your possession, you wouldn't have said anything. So yes, to that point, he does obviously come off as someone who's been a very unreliable witness.
Thabiso Goba is with EWN. Thanks very much. 27 after 3.
702.
WhatsApp us on 072 702 1702.
Brother, I hope you're well. I hope your team is well. So here from Soshanguve. How I take criticism is that I find it to be constructive. If after I've received it, I can ask you, what can I do better? What do you think are my blind spots? So if we can't have a conversation after that or a discussion, I don't take it as constructive. Then I feel like it's an insult because there's nothing to construct from that, cauliflower ears. That's something I can't change. So I take it as an insult, and you can't build me something I can't change. So that's how I take it. Thanks. Enjoy the rest of the show.
EWN Traffic.
This EWN Traffic is brought to you by South African Airways. Get all-inclusive fares, your seat, your meal, and your baggage. It's all in. Book at flysaa.com. Mr. Jali.
Thanks, Thabo. Well, at this stage in the Midrand area, you can still expect about a 20-minute delay on the N1 northbound. This is between the Between Interchange and Samrand in Sandton heading towards Midrand. Also expect about a 30-minute delay M1 northbound from Grayston to the Between Interchange. While in Midrand, still there's traffic lights still not working. This is on Olifantsfontein Road in the N1. Traffic lights also out of order in Rand Park Ridge at Beyers, Noordia and Jim Fisher. If you come across any other traffic issues, kindly WhatsApp us on 072 702 1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
This is what progress sounds like. At South African Airways, we've added more aircraft to the runway, increased our flights from just over 1,000 in 2021 to over 24,000 last year. And we continue to add more destinations and routes. It's steady progress over time. We know there's still work to do, but every day we're building something stronger. An airline that shares the resilience of the country it carries. South African Airways. Book your next flight at flysaa.com today.
Let's walk the talk.
702.
Exactly 3:30, Mbali Dlamini standing by with Eyewitness News headlines. Good afternoon, Mbali. Welcome.
Thanks, Tabo. A very good afternoon. Environmental groups have asked the Western Cape High Court to overturn approval for offshore oil gas exploration by Total Energies off the west coast. They argue that government unlawfully approved drilling of up to 10 exploration wells in the deepwater Orange Basin between Port Nolloth and Hondeklip Bay. They say the environmental authorization failed to properly assess climate change impacts as well as oil spill risks and the potential harm to vulnerable fishing communities. Carlo Peterson reports.
The applicants argue authorities focused only on the exploration phase while ignoring the long-term consequences of eventual oil or gas production. This includes increased greenhouse gas emissions and damage to South Africa's climate commitments. They also challenge government's finding that a major oil spill is highly unlikely, warning that ultra-deep drilling significantly increases risk, with spill response plans not yet in place. Outside court, about 100 small-scale fishers staged a peaceful protest. Among them was the Green Connection's Lisa Makaula.
Most of the concerns that we had was socio-economic impacts on the livelihoods of coastal communities in terms of how community livelihoods would be impacted in a case whereby there are blowouts and also in a case whereby there are oil spills.
Total Energies and the state are opposing the application but are yet to submit their arguments in court. Carlo Peterson, Eyewitness News, Western Cape High Court.
The DA has announced 6 additional mayoral candidates in its second round of announcements for the Western Cape. Those announced during the latest announcement, the candidates are for the Cedarburg, Mossel Bay and Saldanha Bay municipalities. Camry Clark reports.
The DA today unveiled 6 more mayoral candidates at the Western Cape Legislature. The party also outlined its strategy to drive voter registration as part of its goal of what it calls wall-to-wall DA governance. In the Cedarburg, Yves Blau has been named as the DA's mayoral candidate. In the Breede Valley area, Questein. In Mossel Bay, Dirk Kotze. In Saldanha Bay, Marius Kuhn will contest for the position. In Swellendam, medical doctor Jacques de Toy has been selected as the mayoral candidate, and in the West Coast District, Roelof Boffie-Strydom has been announced. Today's announcement brings the total number of confirmed candidates to 12, with more expected to be revealed in the coming weeks. Camry Clark, Eyewitness News at the Western Cape Legislature.
And authorities are still combing the scene of a crash between a passenger plane and a fire truck in New York. A pilot and co-pilot died in the incident on a runway of the LaGuardia airport this morning. 9 people are in hospital still receiving treatment. It's understood the plane was carrying 72 passengers at the time of the incident. All flights to and from that airport have been cancelled until later this afternoon. It's a partly cloudy afternoon in Gauteng with scattered showers and thundershowers expected. Temperatures have peaked at highs of between 24 and 26 degrees.
Well, if you're leaving Sandton heading towards Midrand, you can expect about a 20-minute delay. M1 northbound, this is between Ethel, Oakland and the Butlu Interchange. Also slow-moving traffic in Midrand on the N1 northbound between the Butlu Interchange and Samrand.
The top story in EWN, environmental groups have asked the Western Cape High Court to overturn approval for offshore oil and gas exploration by Total Energies off the west coast.
Africa Milani.
Weekday mornings,
4 to 6.
U.S. interests in Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and such areas has been the target of Iran. Are they not running the risk of having fellow Arab nations actually turning on them?
That Donald Trump did was to kill the Ayatollah on the first day. He immediately united the nations, united Iran as a nation together, which he hoped would divide the nation. Secondly, also to understand that there is a huge divide in the Middle East. We've seen this in the wars in Yemen and Syria. As a humanity, we need peacemakers and peace seekers, and this is our challenge in the world today.
Mike Bernard.
Africa Milani.
4 to 6 on 702.
Meet Tato Makgape, CMO of Gauteng, proving that South African tech can take on the world. Tato, why was Telkom Business the right call for your team?
Bottom line was connectivity and ensuring that we have the right service provider.
With Telkom Business Fiber, Gauteng seamlessly connects local innovations with international manufacturing.
Get Stream Connect Fiber from just 399 Rand per month. Call 10213 or click telkom.co.za. T's and C's apply. Telkom Business. Possible begins here.
Every day I'm hustling. It's our reality as business owners.
And it's good to know that there's someone out there who takes care of the business that makes the business. Gotta love My Way Business Insurance. Saving big on premiums with 24/7 emergency services, plus My Business Assist with marketing, legal, and labor advice services.
Visit myway.co.za or dial 0860 64 64 64 and get a quote today. My Way is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. T's, C's, and standard rates apply. My Way. Live your way.
EWN Sport.
With Tolagele Mganga. Good afternoon, Tolagele. Welcome. What's the latest in the sporting world?
Well, thank you so much, Thabo. Bryson DeChambeau beat John Rahm on the first playoff hole to claim the inaugural Live Golf South Africa title at Steyn City, as he claimed back-to-back victories on tour, having won in Singapore the previous week. Both DeChambeau and Rahm finished on 26 under par over 72 holes, but the American claimed his fifth Live title on the first extra hole with a birdie. Over to England, where Manchester City ended Arsenal's bid for a historic quadruple with a 2-0 victory in the Carabao Cup final at Wembley. Nico O'Reilly scored twice in 4 second-half minutes as Pep Guardiola's side overpowered the Premier League leaders. City's win means that Guardiola becomes the first manager to win this cup 5 times, while the Gunners must wait to claim their first silverware since the FA Cup in 2020.
It's so difficult to win titles. It doesn't matter which one. It's not a Premier League, Champions League, I know that, but it's so difficult. The opponents are so good. The opponents are incredible. They're well prepared. The amount of games, the amount of seasons. And every time I win it, I said, oh, win another one? Which one? If I got the Premier League, Champions League, it's so difficult. But what made me feel that is remember, because always you win a title, remember what we have done together in 10 years, winning 19 titles in 10 years in the modern era in England, in Europe. It's the heads off for all organizations.
Mamelodi Sundowns have advanced to the semi-finals of the CAF Champions League despite a 2-0 loss in the second leg of their quarter-final against Stade Malien. The Brazilians had come into the second leg with a 3-0 cushion for the first game and will now face Esperance de Tunis in the semis. Switching over to the Bedway Premiership, where Orlando Pirates reclaimed top spot with a 6-0 win over TS Galaxy, while Kaizer Chiefs and Amazulu boosted their top 3 and CAF qualification hopes with victories. Cedric Kaz's Amakosi continued their resurgence by securing back-to-back league wins as they defeated Magesi 2-0. That's courtesy of goals from Wandile Duba and Fundo Vilagazi.
When you have important players that are coming and are playing regularly, playing 2, 3, 4 games in a row, that gives that stability that we are looking for. And we knew why we were in difficult moments, and the good thing is everyone stayed calm, and from now we need as well to stay calm and not to get the euphoria because we won 2 games.
And the Springbok Women's Sevens reached their goal of qualifying for the HSBC Sevens World Championship despite finishing third in Montevideo on Sunday. The South African side won 3 of their 5 matches, and apart from 14 minutes of poor rugby, Coach Cecil Africa said he was pleased with all the outcomes of the weekend. The team will now travel to the final HSBC Sevens 2 tournament in Sao Paulo this weekend, knowing they did enough to qualify for the World Championships. Tolagele Mganga, Eyewitness News Sport.
EWN Traffic.
This EWN Traffic is brought to you by Plumlink, your local plumbing store. Visit plumlink.co.za to find your nearest store. Karabo Charlie, the roads, how do they look?
Well, several roads are congested in the Midrand area. These include Herika Lawn, the R55, as well as New Road, so allow for extra traveling time if you are heading towards Halfway House. There's also slow-moving traffic in the Sandton area heading towards Midrand. Expect about a 20-minute delay on the M1 northbound from Killarney Pains to the Petlu interchange. In Edenvale, slow-moving traffic traveling towards Bedford View on the R24 westbound between Macro Store and the Gilulis interchange, and look out for those faulty traffic lights in the Rand Park Ridge area at Bears Nodia and the N1. If you come across any other traffic issues, kindly WhatsApp us on 072 702 1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
If it's plumbing, you'll find it at Plumlink, South Africa's largest plumbing retailer. From pipes, fittings, geysers, and baths, to basins, taps, tools, and accessories, we've got it all. With more than 10,000 quality products at the right price and over 150 stores nationwide, there's always a Plumlink near you, ready to help with expert advice and unbeatable value. Find your nearest branch today at plumlink.coza. Plumlink, your local plumbing store. You're now listening to 702 Afternoon Drive with John Perlman. Brought to you by Telkom Business. Possible begins here.
702
Let's walk the talk on 92.7
and 106 FM.
20 minutes to 4 o'clock. Welcome back, Thabo Shwala Mashal, in for John Perlman. Always great having you with us earlier on. If you missed it, we did ask you about some criticism, insults. How do you take it? Do you absorb it like a sponge and then you get saturated and you just think enough is enough? Or do you think you dismiss it? You just dismiss it. If people criticize you, insult you, or point at something that is not so impressive about you, how do you deal with it? Do you agonize about it and night and day think about that? Tolagele, welcome. I hope you're good.
Hello, Thabo. Thank you so much. I am good, and you?
I like the black and white Pirates vibes,
Oh,
6-0
my gosh.
vibes. I like your
I got
outfit.
6 goals for the first time. Now we won't stop hearing about it. My God.
Of course, baga. Anyway, on more serious issues, how do you take an insult? Someone would say, hey, Tolagele, oh, I don't like your black and white. It looks like you're going to a funeral. Does it stay with you for some time?
There's some insults that I kind of feel like are jokey. Those ones I don't mind.
Yeah.
But the ones that are like that,
Yeah.
I don't take them seriously because at the end of the day, it's my opinion about me that matters the most.
Yeah.
Some maybe it'll be like constructive criticism. I'll take that, but it also depends on your delivery.
Yeah.
If you're saying to me, I think I used the example before about the man who sent the voice note about Tanzania versus how I was saying Tanzania.
Yeah.
That was his criticism of me understanding how you say that country's name within the African context versus the European place. I was like, that is fine. I can
That's
take
cool.
that.
Yeah.
Because you're teaching me as opposed to saying, oh my goodness, what are you doing on the radio? If you can't
you
pronounce such
shouldn't be
things.
there. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So those things I will take on board because I'm like, okay, reflect on why you're doing that thing. If you're just going to say something just to say, oh, I can do it better.
You know, you could have 10 positive things on social media after a post, but there's that one, just one, that goes out the window and you are literally meditating on it. And you think, is he right? Is he right? Is he right?
I get that, but also you took the risk of trying something out of your comfort zone and allowed yourself to be open to the criticism.
Yes.
As opposed to someone who's just sitting on the couch and is just making that point without even trying the thing that you were afraid to do despite it all.
I want you to listen to this, Tolagele, and you, Garabo. Please take a listen to this. And then I have some bit of follow-up questions. And please share your voice notes as well on 0727021702. Be honest. Please be honest. Does criticism collapse you completely? Does it mess up your day? You get it early in the morning and your entire day is just a mess. You're thinking about that one negative thing that was said about you and nothing else matters. Let's just be honest. Does it collapse you, or you walk tall despite all the negative criticism that you may get? Let's listen to this one first.
Why have you given this person so much power over your mind? Epictetus argues that an insult is just words that come from one person's mouth and go to your ears, and what happens next is entirely up to you. You can choose to take the words in, examine them, and let them fester. Or you can choose to let them pass like a breeze on the wind. If somebody succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation. The insult didn't make you angry. You made yourself angry by accepting the words were important, were true, and worthy of your attention. For Epictetus, resilience wasn't having a thick skin or denying that words can be hurtful. It's recognizing that you have the power to prevent people from entering your inner fortress and deciding how you will deal with what people say.
Yeah, and at times when you're alone in your mind and that's eating you up, it simply means that you've allowed it to go that far. What's one of the worst criticisms or insults, I shouldn't say insult, that you've ever absorbed, Garabo, and it shook you up or it didn't? Someone said something about you, did it shake you up, or maybe it didn't? Nothing specific.
In my adulthood, nothing really gets to me. But when I was young, I used to be called so many names, and it's true. So
yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with that. But as a kid, best believe it.
Kids can be mean.
Kids are mean. Kids actually can be mean. Let me put it that way.
Yeah. Kids can be mean.
So yeah, they tease you, and it hurts but then as you grow up, you realize, so what?
Tolegele, does it matter if it comes from someone that you really like, a family member, a friend, or a close colleague? Does it make a difference?
Absolutely. If it's from a family member or a friend, because also you know me.
Yeah.
Like you know the parts of me that I don't share with anybody else. So when you throw that zinger my way, I'm kind of going. And then when it's like a random person off the street, maybe it'll hit you for like 2-3 hours.
Yeah.
But you can move on from that. But when it's someone that close, I'm still going to see you. And every time you say another snarky remark, I'm still going to keep it in the back of my mind to be like, that's another thing to add on top of the other thing that you just said. So it does hurt definitely a lot more when it's people that you're close with.
Now that you're on radio, Tolegele, do you think that it happens more often than it did? And you, Garawa, as well. Because, I'm saying that without meaning any malice at all, because you're occupying a certain platform that attracts eyes and ears more than before.
You know how I know it does? Because I remember when I was a kid and then we'd be watching like the news or TV.
Yeah.
And then my family members would be making like random comments about like this person's hair, this person's weight, this person's choice of clothing. So I'm like, imagine if we're in a casual atmosphere and they're doing that. The people that are spending roughly like an hour and a half on the road and are forced to listen to your voice, they're constantly criticizing your accent, your pronunciation, your thoughts, your this, your that. But a part of me is happy that they're choosing not to spew it by sending a voice note and degrading the talent here.
Yes.
Rather, they come back and they're like, hopefully tomorrow you do better.
Yes.
Even if you are criticizing me, but you're not doing it to break me.
Yeah.
In this industry, you need to have a thick skin, eh?
Yeah.
You'll be surprised. You'll be shocked, actually, at the SMS, when you look at the SMS line and how they criticize us, how they tell us how... rubbish we sound. And it's hurtful. But then, I don't know you. I don't have to interact with you every day.
I used to agonize about that.
Yeah,
for
you used
some
to,
time. I used to, when I
so
started.
it hurts,
I
guys.
used to agonize about it until Relebogile said it's not worth it.
It's not worth it at all. So you need to have a thick skin if you're in this industry.
Tell us how you take an insult. If someone insults you, 072-702-1702. Does it sit with you, or do you just say move along? 13 minutes to 4.
For more about 702,
go to primemediaplus.com.
Domestic workers, or helpers rather, they stick around with us for some time. Some just come and help us out at home and leave in the afternoons. Others come once a week, whilst others are live-in domestic workers in our homes, and many of them spend about 14 hours living apart from their own families and earning well below minimum wage. And domestic workers are regularly bullied. Some are assaulted and treated with blatant discrimination. And we invited Amy Tekie, the co-founder of Izwi Domestic Alliance, just to give us some bit of insights into their campaign. It's called The Dignity in Every Home, especially on the backdrop of the Human Rights Month and the Human Rights Day that we've just observed. Amy, thanks for joining us. Welcome to 702. I hope you're well.
Thanks for having me.
What are some of the common elements of being mistreated, not being handled well, or concerns around domestic workers?
Well, they're the ones that are perhaps more obvious around labor rights issues. So being paid less than minimum wage, working far more than 40 to 45 hours a week, not being paid for overtime, not getting public holidays off, etc. And then on top of that, there are a lot of other human rights abuses that happen in the domestic work space, but that go unrecorded and unnoticed. And those have to do with your right to privacy. So employers will often feel that because a domestic worker is living on his or her property, the employer then thinks that they have the right to go in and search their room, to read their phone messages, to know all about what medications they're on, and all of those things are unconstitutional. Our right to privacy is part of our constitutional right, and there are boundaries within which you can access those things. Another problem we have is workers sleeping in inadequate accommodation, sleeping on the floor of the kitchen, the floor of the garage. Another big issue is not being allowed to have visitors or have a family member live with you, which means you're functionally isolated from your whole social community.
Is that why you started the Dignity in Every Home campaign?
Yes, we want to look at both the labor rights issues and the human rights issues, because domestic work is very different from other sectors. It's not a sector that's easy to organize in the traditional labor movement structures, and workers are working in private homes behind closed doors and are often very vulnerable to abuse, to bullying, to exploitation. And, you know, there are some employers who really are exploiting, and they're treating people like servants or even slaves. And then there are other employers who are trying to be great employers but don't know what the labor law is. And so we're trying to assist on both of those ends, to provide resources for employers who are wanting to make sure they abide by the law, to make it easy for them, and also to draw attention to those who are taking advantage.
Do you have perhaps one segment of society that is more abusive or less concerned about the rights of domestic workers than others? Where is it most prevalent, I should be asking?
You know, we actually don't. If you look at employers across race, there are abuses, and some domestic workers will prefer to work for employers of this race, and some will prefer another race. And even the same thing across class. You can have employers who are low income but still can afford a domestic worker who will highly mistreat them, or you have some who are on the other end and who are driving Porsches but will still pay minimum wage. So it's really across the board, and obviously there's a lot that comes in the history of the sector and the history of oppression in this country, and
yes,
and globally. These issues play out globally, and South Africa has one of the leading labor laws to protect domestic workers, but unfortunately it's not enforced and it's not complied with.
Maybe let's go straight into it, Amy, and starting off with minimum wage. What is it? What is a fair wage? Of course, there's minimum wage, which I think all of us know that it would be prescribed, but also touch on the fairness of wage. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to stop at the bare minimum wage.
Absolutely. And minimum wage right now is 30 Rand 23 cents an hour. And that works out to about 5,500 Rand if you work 45 hours a week. But I think most of us, especially if we are employers, will know that it's very difficult to provide a living at at that rate. And even if a domestic worker is, you know, living in your house and maybe you're sharing food, often she's still supporting a family, so she still has to pay rent for children or for family members. So there's a website that we've worked with, livingwage.org.za, and you can actually go on that site and put in how many children does the person have, how much is she traveling, if she's traveling, etc., and what is actually a reasonable wage that would cover basic living costs.
So if someone is working 12 to 14 hours a day and they're living with you, the minimum that you ought to pay them is just about 5,000 rands.
It's actually illegal for somebody to be working 12 to 14 hours a day. It's absolutely illegal.
Yeah.
If they're working 5 hours a day, they should be working up to 5 days a week. They should be working up to 9 hours a day. If they're working 6 days a week, it should be 8 hours. Anything beyond that is overtime, and you can only work 15 hours of overtime in a week. So 60 hours a week is the maximum, with recognition that 15 of those hours must be paid overtime.
Okay, and so that would be just over 23 rands per hour for 9 hours at least.
It'd be 30 Rand 23 cents per hour.
Sorry, I missed that. Yeah. Okay. I just wanted us to have a learning moment, and that's why I'm being rudimentary about this, because we take it for granted that everyone knows and everyone does this. It's not really the case, and I'm sure that after speaking to you, opening the lines and speaking about how you treat your domestic helpers, and if you're a domestic helper, how are you treated where you work? Are you getting this amount of money every single month? How many hours are you working? What are the conditions like? I think we'd get a different story. So pardon my rudimentary way of doing things, because I think all of us need to be conscientized thoroughly about this, Amy. So let's jump over to the conditions, if you will. And let's, what are the fair practices that ought to be observed? Of course, you've mentioned 9 hours, and there would be overtime, which should be paid. But human to human, clearly this person should not feel like a slave in your home.
Absolutely. So if somebody is living at your house and their official working hours are 8 to 5. After 5 o'clock, it doesn't mean that you have the right to say, oh, could you just come watch the baby for an hour? Once that person is off work, they're off work. They can be gone. They can do whatever they need, but they're not on your clock. An issue we have often is around food. So we have employers that will say, I don't want you to cook here, and I don't want you to store food in our fridge, and you don't have your own fridge or space for that, and therefore you will provide your food. And that causes a lot of problems, because often, I'm very sad to say, but often employers will give domestic workers the food that's off, the food that's been sitting in the fridge for 4 days, the leftovers from the kids' lunch boxes, and or the domestic worker is then forced to comply with whatever dietary requirements the employer might have, whether they be religious or nutritional. And when somebody is living there full time, that's their home, which means if they're not allowed to eat meat, then that means 24 hours a day, they're not allowed to eat meat. And that's not something we would ever expect from our own employers, to regulate how we eat or what's on our phone or who can come to visit us. It's a really big problem for domestic workers when employers say, no, because of security, I don't want you to have visitors. So that means that the person's totally isolated from their community, and it is a right under the Constitution and under the international conventions to have. We as humans have a right to family life. We have a right to social life.
Yeah.
And so employers must be able to accommodate. If they want somebody to be living on their property and they want the advantages and the privilege that brings, then they must also be willing to accommodate the requirements of that.
Allow me to bring in some of our listeners here. I see people are sending some voice notes and actually text messages. Zane here says, Taitabo, how much of this problem is as a direct result of illegal immigration in the sector? Amy?
I really don't think it's fair to blame non-compliance of employers on migrant workers. I mean, it's really on an employer to make sure that they're upholding the labor law. So that labor law applies to every single worker in the
Sure.
country.
I think, apologies, Amy. I think the question intends to ask, and I could be wrong, Zane, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah. It intends to ask about how blatantly exploitative can an employer be, knowing that this person is an illegal immigrant, not necessarily the other way around. Could they take advantage simply because this person does not have proper papers?
They do, and we've had people, employers that we negotiate when domestic workers have issues. We help them settle it with their employers, and we've had employers who say directly, I prefer to hire an immigrant, an undocumented migrant, because they don't have any rights. But that's false, because as I said, everybody has those rights under the labor law. It doesn't matter what your documentation status is.
Amy, thank you so much. And I'm thinking this is just not a once-off discussion, and I'm glad that you kicked off this campaign on the Human Rights Month. And I think we need to keep it moving to other months as well, and not just for today. It's a great learning moment for us, because individuals walk around in wonderful stilettos, beautiful shoes and suits, nice cars, but they get home and they treat domestic helpers as though they are slaves. 2 minutes to 4 o'clock. Amy Take Care is with a campaign called The Dignity in Every Home.
Bongani Bingwa, 702 Breakfast.
Weekday mornings, 6 to 9.
The passing of Chuck Norris, who I did not know was a MAGA supporter. And Donald Trump, of course, waxing lyrical about Chuck Norris, as he would, because he was a supporter, in contrast to what he said about the former FBI director, about whom he wrote he was glad that he was dead, that it was a good thing that he was dead. This is the president of a country. Can you imagine? The tapping of the shoulder comment isn't, as Amo was suggesting, to tell him to be quiet. You tap the shoulder when you're here to take the guy away, and they tap your shoulder and they say, it's time. It's time, man. Hey? Wouldn't the whole world breathe a sigh of relief?
Bongani Bingwa, 6 to 9.
On 702.
Need a seat? Try 7 or 5. It's your call. Want a sunroof? Make it a panoramic. Gotta have power? How does award-winning 138 kilowatts sound? The Changan CS75 Pro is big enough for the kids, smart enough for your playlist, and stylish enough for your Friday night too. Why settle when you can have it all without compromise? The Changan CS75 Pro. Drive tomorrow's SUV today. Visit changanmotors.co.za for more.
Changan, driven to evolve.
Zakes owns an electrical business that lit up the neighborhood. Literally. One small spark, one big legal nightmare. But he has public liability insurance from Budget. The damage was covered and his client sorted. Sharp, sharp. To get public liability cover, visit budgetinsurance.co.za. Budget Insurance, official insurer for good South Africans. Budget is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
Calling all wedding planners and venues, restaurants, conference centers, and hotels. Do you need tables and chairs? Home in One has it all. Do you need cutlery, crockery, table linen, and restaurant equipment? Home in One has it all. Do you need tents, gazebos, or umbrellas? Home in One has it all. Affordable prices, the latest trends, with 2 branches in Pretoria and Johannesburg. Shop online at homein1.co.za. Because we're your #1 choice. Home in One has it all.
Driving the conversation on 702 Afternoon Drive with John Perlman. Powered by Telkom Business. Possible begins here.
This is EWN.
Mashatile denies links to suspected crime boss Vusumuzi Madlanga, and the DA wants the Defence Ministry to explain how the money will be spent. Good afternoon, I'm Bali Dlamini. We begin with news just in. Deputy President Paul Mashatile has denied meeting with controversial businessman Vusumuzi Madlanga. It follows the testimony of Sergeant Fanny Nkosi at the Madlanga Commission earlier today. Nkosi testified that Madlanga wanted to get his credit card back from him as he was going to be meeting with the Deputy President. But in a statement released this afternoon, Mashatile has denied the link to Madlanga, saying he was out of the country at the time that he allegedly met with him. Meanwhile, evidence leaders at the Madlanga Commission have poked holes into Fanny Nkosi's explanation of why police found 385,000 rand in cash at his home. In October last year, police raided Nkosi's home and found the cash in his safe. Nkosi has told the Commission he was keeping the money safe for his brother who had just sold a truck. Tabiso Koba reports.
The sale agreement between Sergeant Fanny Nkosi's brother was signed on the 7th of October 2025, a day before the raid at his home. At the same time, the seller only signed the agreement on the 19th of December, which was 3 days after Nkosi submitted his statement to the Madlanga Commission on the matter. There's also discrepancies in the purchase price, as the sale agreement says the truck was sold for 400,000 rand, while the affidavits provided by Nkosi's brother says the truck was sold for 380,000 rand. Evidence leader Matthew Chaskelson.
What this looks to me from the outside is an attempt to explain the presence of 380,000 rands in cash in your safe. So that these documents were created after the event to try to explain how the money came into your safe.
No. I'll deny. It's also emerged that the truck in question was purchased by Hats Lingwato, who's also Sergeant Nkosi's legal representative at the Commission. Tabiso Koba, Eyewitness News.
The DA wants Defence Minister Enji Motshekga to return to Parliament and break down how an 823 million rand cash injection, towards the Army's deployment in crime fighting will be used. The party says there is still no explanation on how the funds will be utilised. The South African National Defence Force is currently assisting police to fight crimes like illegal mining and gangs in various provinces. Babalondenze reports.
Nicholas Gotzel, the DA NCOP member on Security and Justice, says they formally requested Minister Enji Motshekga and the SANDF to appear before the Joint Standing Committee on Defence and the Portfolio Committee on Police this Friday. He says they must provide a full and proper breakdown of the 823 million rand deployment cost, including how the amount was determined and what safeguards are in place to prevent waste or corruption. Gotzel addressed the matter before the Joint Standing Committee's last meeting.
So it is
critically important that this committee be provided with a breakdown of exactly how the SANDF has arrived at the amount of 823.2 plus million.
He says they need the cost breakdown because the Defense and Military Veterans Department accounts for 34% of all corruption investigations by the SIU and the Hawks. Baba Londenza, Eyewitness News.
The Health Ombudsman has found critical safety failures contributed to the death of a psychiatric patient at the George Mukhari Academic Hospital. This is contained in findings from a probe into the death of Lerato Motlhame in 2024. Motlhame died in a fire at the hospital while 17 other patients were evacuated from the ward. The findings were released today as part of an investigation into patient safety incidents in Gauteng. Mongezi Gogo reports.
The Ombud's report found that fire safety warnings raised by patients were ignored and that emergency systems at the facility failed. Locked emergency exits, missing keys and a lack of disaster management measures meant staff were unprepared to respond effectively. A post-mortem confirmed that Motlhame was alive when the fire broke out, with injuries consistent with smoke inhalation. The investigation also found that she had access to a lighter which may have started the fire, raising further questions about supervision in the ward. Health Ombud Professor Taule Mokoena.
The psychiatric unit is currently not fit for purpose, and it is imperative that it must be refurbished.
Mokoena has called for urgent infrastructure upgrades, including fire safety equipment, and says the facility may need to be rebuilt. Mongezi Gogo, Eyewitness News.
And in the UK, the number of confirmed and suspected cases of meningitis in Kent has decreased to 29. The UK Security Agency says 3 cases previously thought confirmed had been downgraded after further testing. It adds that more cases would likely be downgraded in the coming days with the completion of further lab tests. Last week, a 21-year-old university student and an 18-year-old student died from the virus. According to investigations, the source of the outbreak has been traced to a local nightclub. Gold is trading at $4,425.08 an ounce. The rand is at 16.87 to the dollar, 22.53 to the pound, 19.49 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $114.06 a barrel.
Midrand accident scene N1 northbound near New Road, causing more than an hour delay all the way from the Butlu interchange. As a result, several routes are congested in the Midrand area. These include New Road, Old Pretoria Road, Allendale Road, R55, as well as Herika Lawn.
In your sport, Mamelodi Sundowns through to the semi-finals of the CAF Champions League despite second-leg defeat to Stade Malien. Pep Guardiola becomes the first manager to win the Carabao Cup 5 times following Manchester City's triumph over Arsenal. And Springbok women's 7-side secure World Championship qualification.
A cloudy Tuesday in store for Gauteng tomorrow with scattered afternoon showers and thunder showers expected. Johannesburg drops to overnight lows of 17 degrees, peaking at 22. Pretoria 19 and 24, and Vereeniging 17 and 23 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour: Deputy President Paul Mashatile has denied meeting with controversial businessman Vusimuzi Katmadlala.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
702.
Live
on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM. Let's walk the talk.
Eight minutes after 4 o'clock. Welcome back. John is not here. My name is Thabo Shole Mashal. I'm happy to be with you all the way till 6 in the evening. Great having you with us. In a short while, we'll go to your voice notes as we are asking, how do you absorb criticism or an insult? If someone insults you, do you take it to heart? Does it break your mind altogether and you go berserk? Or it's just water off a duck's speck? Nothing to write home about. You just move on and you say, well, that's life. How do you absorb your criticism that's directed, or an insult that's directed towards you? 072-702-1702. In a short while, we'll speak to the Health Ombud, and Professor Taule will share the report that partly speaks about the terrible plight of a 35-year-old female patient who had a long-standing history of mental illness. She went to hospital, and that hospital is Dr. George Mukhari Academic Hospital, and she didn't come out alive. The details will be reflected on that, and who is to be held accountable in the next few minutes. So we will touch on that. Much later on, Clint will speak to the former mayor of the city of Tshwane, Celia Brink. He wrote to the Madlanga Commission and on the issues as regards to the Tshwane CFO, Gareth Mnisi. And they're saying that they've got evidence that they've been able to put together, and they have put that to the commission, and it does not draw a beautiful picture of Gareth Mnisi. Celia Brink from the DA caucus, who's the DA leader caucus, will chat to us. And then, much later on, a new oppressor walks together with the poor, argues Papano Pasha in the Citizen newspaper, as she wrote an opinion as a political commentator. She lambasts the ANC for asking the public and society to strike, whilst it's their policies that are causing the problem. She will expand on that much later on. 10 minutes after 4, I look forward to your interactions on 072-702-1702.
702
Let's walk the talk on 92.7
and 106 FM.
Hello there. I seriously don't have a problem if someone criticizes me, especially if it's a constructive criticism. I take it very well because I take it's meant to shape me or sharpen my skills. With regards to an insult, you don't insult me. If you insult me, I go low. Like, you don't do that. You don't do that with me. You really need to know your facts if you try to insult me. Thank you very much. Macy from Val.
Hey, Bratiza, very. Hey, Charazo, check. Now I've always have this mantra that I go by. It's actually two things. One, mind over matter. If I don't mind, it does not matter. And the second one is, if you and I don't know each other personally, I don't take what you are saying very personal. It's easy. Jeff Mbinga from the Valley.
12 minutes after 4 o'clock, and this is 702 Tabo Shola Mashao in for John Perlman. And those are your voice notes. In case you're wondering, what are they talking about? Earlier on, we asked, how do you absorb an insult? Do you take it to heart or to mind, and you lose your sleep over it? And that's on the backdrop of a clip that we played. And it was just explaining that if you allow yourself to be hurt, to be traumatized, and to be in pain as a result of an insult, you are also complicit, because those are just words. Those are just words. You decided to give them a bit of power. Or is it easier said than done? Let us know on 011-883-0702. And we will be speaking to the mayoral candidate in the city of Tshwane for the DA, Celia Brink, a little bit later on. But for now, it's 13 minutes after 4.
EWN Traffic.
This EWN Traffic is brought to you by South African Airways. See just how far you can go with them. Book at flysaa.com now. Mr. Charlie, the roads.
Sure, Mr. T. At this stage, in Midrand, accident scene N1 northbound before New Road, causing more than an hour delay all the way from the Patloo Exchange. As a result, several routes are congested in the Midrand area. These include New Road, Old Pretoria Road, Ellendale Road, the R55, as well as Herikalon. So avoid Midrand if you have no business there. In Woodmead, also heading towards Midrand, bumper-to-bumper traffic on Bowling Road between Satara Avenue and Witkoppen. There's also slow-moving traffic. Actually expect about an hour delay. This is on the M1 northbound heading towards Midrand. This is between Killarney Bends and the Patloo Interchange. In Edenvale, slow-moving traffic traveling towards Bedford View on the R24 westbound between Micro Store and the Gilulis interchange. If you come across any other traffic issues, kindly WhatsApp us on 072 702 1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
This is what progress sounds like. At South African Airways, we've added more aircraft to the runway, increased our flights from just over 1,000 in 2021 to over 24,000 last year. And we continue to add more destinations and routes. It's steady progress over time. We know there's still work to do, but every day we're building something stronger. An airline that shares the resilience of the country it carries. South African Airways. Book your next flight at flysaa.com today.
Stay with 702 Afternoon Drive with John Perlman. Brought to you by Telkom Business. Possible begins here.
Illegal water connections have serious consequences for the city's water supply. When pipelines are tampered with, it damages infrastructure, reduces system pressure, and can leave entire communities without water. Johannesburg Water continues to remove illegal connections and strengthen monitoring across the network to protect supply. Residents are encouraged to report illegal connections or suspicious activity to the City of Johannesburg on 0800 002 587. Protect our water infrastructure. Protect our water supply. Brought to you by Johannesburg Water, a water and sanitation utility that cares.
Welcome to Nando's Taste-Demonials. Real reviews by real people. Today's testimonial comes from Jeff in Kempton Park. Now, Jeff seems to be a man of very few words. We've asked him to use his few words to tell us what he thinks of our flame-grilled peri-peri full chicken with any two sharing sides for $2.83. Jeff?
Nice.
Well, there you have it. When the meal is such a mouthful, you really only need a few words, I guess. Nando's. Oh, what a place.
For Olwethu Nxumalo of Ozide Rentals and Custom Dressmaking, every stitch is a story. What's your Telkom business chapter?
What made Telkom business stand out from all the rest was how fast everything was.
And with voice calling and fiber from Telkom Business, she stitches together inquiries and sources fabric online without dropping a thread.
Get unlimited VoIP 1 from 99 Rand per month and Stream Connect Fiber from 399 Rand per month. Call 10213 or click telkom.co.za. T's and C's apply. Telkom Business. Possible begins here.
Do you suffer from heartburn and hyperacidity? To relieve heartburn for the whole day and night with one tablet, a potent once-a-day treatment which was previously prescription only is now available over the counter. Ask your pharmacist for an over-the-counter, long-lasting heartburn treatment. Brought to you by Sandoz.
702.
Let's walk the talk on 92.7
and 106 FM.
Welcome back. 16 minutes after 4 o'clock, Thabo Sholemashao in for John Perlman. Earlier on, the health ombud, Professor Taule Mokoena, delivered a scathing briefing exposing systemic failures at two Gauteng hospitals. One of them is Dr. George Mukari, and the ombud mentioned that the hospital had withheld medication and food from a psychiatric patient as punishment. They falsified her medical records to hide it and failed to reach her in time when she burned to death in a locked seclusion room. Professor Taule joins us right now. Prof, thanks for your time. Welcome to 702, albeit unfortunate news. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Tawad. Thank you for having me.
This report is scathing, but underneath, what does it really say about our health system in Gauteng? And please feel free to reflect on the particular stories that I've mentioned.
Once again, thank you. The report underlines some of the systemic issues that are in our hospitals in general, but psychiatric hospitals in particular. Your listeners, maybe yourself as well, might recall that last year we did a report on the investigation of death of psychiatric patients in Northern Cape. Now, that was a specialized psychiatric hospital, but George Mukari is just an academic hospital that has got a unit, a psychiatric unit. But what this underlines is that our system is not looking well after the patients that are in most need, meaning mentally unsound patients. And there were lots of issues, systemic issues that were wrong in the George Mukhari Hospital. And first of all, we start with the
Prof, are you still there? It looks like we have lost Prof. Taule. We'll try to get him back. He's the health ombudsman, and he was just about to reflect on the report, a scathing report that he delivered to the media earlier on about George Mukhari Hospital. I did mention that they had withheld. It was found that the hospital had withheld medication and food from a psychiatric patient as punishment. They falsified her medical records to hide it and failed to retain time when she burned to death. Prof. Taule joins us back. And Prof, maybe we can kick off where the phone did a disservice to us. You were just mentioning that it does have a psychiatric ward, and there was also a cover-up. It was not just a mishandling of issues, but there was just also a cover-up. Over to you, Prof.
Well, you had asked me to outline the systemic issues that
yes.
we discovered there.
Sure.
And if I walk you and your audience through the way patients are admitted into the hospital, the first error or trust, I would call it a transgression, is that patients are supposed to be certified by two independent doctors after a thorough examination, and this did not take place. And secondly, that the seclusion room at the psychiatric unit was far away from the nurses' station, so it was outside their immediate attention and supervision. But more disturbing is that there were no devices to look at the patient, to monitor the patient, such as CCTV and emergency bells and so on. Now, what is said about this particular patient is that she was supposed to have been properly searched before she was put into, we call it seclusion, but what it means is actually isolation. And she was not adequately searched. And she was a smoker, and she went into in seclusion with a cigarette lighter. I'll come back to that. But the main issue, systemic issue about that seclusion room is that it didn't only lack monitoring, but it was locked. The doors were locked. And when the fire incident happened, nobody could reach the patient, the burning patient, because the doors were locked and the key was misplaced. Now, it is apparent that the patient used a cigarette lighter to burn the bedding. And the mattresses there in that hospital were ordinary mattresses. They were not fire-resistant or retardant. So it caught fire very quickly. And as I said, it took time to get to the patient when people became aware that she was burning.
Sure. I'm only rushing you, Prof, because of time, mainly because we have about 3 minutes left. So pardon me, I'm not being a mean person. Your work is extremely important. It's mainly because of time. Not that I'm not interested. I wish we could speak for an hour. But let's go over to the next one. It was not just a public hospital. You also went to a private hospital as well, where in neonatal care, a baby died as well as a result of some negligence. Please briefly talk about that before we jump into the findings and the implications on the health system.
Yeah, this was a baby that had some birth defects or problems, and that required that the baby be nursed in an intensive care unit. Now, the error happened from the prescription of drug. This time it was adrenaline. Instead of it being administered per nebulization, in other words, by inhalation, the baby was given the drug as an intravenous injection, which meant that instead of a regular dose, the child got industrial doses of adrenaline.
Goodness.
And this caused a major problem with internal bleeding and difficulty in breathing, which sadly it became fatal. Now, the issue that there was this error is that the hospital, the Femina Hospital, uses electronic records and way of processing patients. They don't use paper. Now the prescription has got a drop-down menu, and the prescriber of this medication picked the wrong route from the drop-down menu, and the nurses who administered it,
yes,
the drug, actually used this wrongfully prescribed route and gave the child mega doses of the drug.
Yeah, and to add insult to injury, it was difficult to find out who was responsible because the staff swapped passwords amongst themselves, which meant that they could enter entries under somebody else's name, and therefore it was difficult to trace who actually did whatever was inconsistent with the practice.
Yes, indeed, there was that issue about swapping passwords.
Sure.
But it was difficult to trace, but not impossible,
Sure.
because there's a duty roster, so we could. There
Find
are
out.
not too many people working in that particular ward, so
I'm
we could trace.
going to ask for the impossible, Prof. In 30 seconds, the findings. South Africans want to know all these dastardly things that took place. Who's going to pay, and how much are they going to pay for the deaths of these two individuals?
The payment is not in our purview. That is left to the courts to issue monetary reparations if the families so desire.
Yeah, I was meaning
But
punishment
ours
more
is
than
a
the money.
watchdog
Yes.
for the system.
Mm.
So we recommend that our recommendations are for the corrections of the systemic issues within the system, so that such errors don't occur again. Certainly not just at the indexed hospital, but in the system in general.
Professor Taule Mokoena is the Health Ombudsman, 27 after 4.
EWN Traffic.
This EWN Traffic is brought to you by South African Airways. Get all-inclusive fares, your seat, your meal, and your baggage. It's all in. Book at flysa.com.
Well, at Thabo, at this stage in Midrand, there's an accident seen on the N1 northbound before New Road, causing more than an hour delay all the way from the Betlui change. As a result, several routes are congested in the Midrand area. These include New Road, Old Pretoria Road, Allendale Road, the R55, as well as Harry Galon. While in Woodmead, bumper-to-bumper traffic. This is on Bowling Road between Satara Avenue and Vidkoppen. There's also about an hour delay traveling towards Midrand. That's in Sandton on the M1 northbound from Killarney Benz to the Betlui change. While in Edenville, slow-moving traffic R24 westbound from Macro Store to the Kilulis interchange. And in Waterkloof, Pretoria, there's an accident seen heading towards Linwood on the N1 northbound near Garsfontein Road. This is causing about an hour delay in both directions. This is between the R21 Proof Plus interchange and Linwood Road. If you come across any other traffic issues, kindly WhatsApp us on 072-702-1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
This is what progress sounds like. At South African Airways, we've added more aircraft to the runway, increased our flights from just over 1,000 in 2021 to over 24,000 last year. And we continue to add more destinations and routes. It's steady progress over time. We know there's still work to do, but every day we're building something stronger. An airline that shares the resilience of the country it carries. South African Airways. Book your next flight at flysaa.com today.
EWN Business.
With Stephen Grootes, not only a broadcaster, but now and then sends voice notes into the shows. Mr. Grootes, you good?
I listen to. You have to listen to talk, or you have to listen to talk well.
I suppose. How's everything?
Yeah, all right. Thank you, Tabo. Good to see you. Okay, so obviously markets were down for much of the day. The JSE was down, the All Share, by around 3% for much of the day. Then came the tweet, whatever you call it, from the US President Donald Trump saying he was suspending a tax on Iranian energy infrastructure because there'd been negotiations. Now, this is complex because there are now several news agencies from Iran who are denying that there's been any kind of talk. So, at this stage, the fog of war very much in charge. The moment that announcement was made, by the way, the JSE gained, the Brent crude oil dropped dramatically. I mean, it's now at $100 a barrel again. The gold price firmed, even platinum did a little better, and everything started to go back to normal. So we have this yo-yo effect all the time. The all-share index at the moment up 0.17, 110,257 points. Financials down 0.43, industrials down 0.38. Resources now up 1.34. So Thungela are down nearly 11%. Now, they are an energy company. They produce coal, but they've also put out results today. They made a loss of 7.1 billion rand. Coal prices were lower during the period. This is to the end of December. There was a big non-cash impairment loss against its assets of 8.8 billion rand. And that's what really did it. We'll speak to their CEO tonight and just ask him, what's happening with coal prices now, because it must be yo-yoing. We Buy Cars down nearly 8%. Santam down 4.97%. And the Premier Group down 3.69%. Sasol also now down 3%. And I think that's presumably because of Trump's comments. Boxer up 6.5%, Anglo up 5.77%, and some of the platinum miners responding. Implat's up 3.78%, while Pick n Pay is up 3.5%, and Spar may be beginning a recovery up 2.43%. PSG Financial Services reporting they expect headline earnings to be up by over 30% for the year that ended in February. And Advotech, they made 2 billion rands worth of profit. This is private education, double. They're also seeking university status for the Rosebank College in Cape Town and the Emirates campus. They say as soon as government sort of allows that to happen, that's what they're going to do.
Yeah, that's because the status of universities is an exclusive prerogative to state-run institutions, tertiary institutions.
Yeah, and that looks like it's going to change.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good.
In the States, in the US, obviously all about oil prices. The Dow Jones now up 1.97, the Nasdaq up 2, the S&P 500 up 1.83. The gold price at the moment slightly stronger, $4,467.07. Platinum $1,891.56, and Brent crude now $100.05 a barrel. The rand to the dollar 16.70, so that's also stronger. The rand to the euro 19.41, to the British pound 22.46. More yo-yoing in an hour. Stephen Grootes, EWN Business.
He's back with you in an hour, but someone who's ready right here, right now, Mbali Dlamini will give us the latest eyewitness news a bit late. Apologies, Mbali. What's the latest?
Well, Thabo, a very good afternoon. Former Cape Town teacher Ian West has been found guilty of indecently assaulting a former learner known only as Stephen by the Wynberg Regional Court. The 86-year-old was on trial for sexually assaulting the boy in 1988 when he was in grade 5 at the Rondebosch Boys Primary School. Stephen testified that West touched him inappropriately while at school. West denied the allegations, claiming he did not remember the complainant and could not have committed the offence. Ntutuzelo Nene has more.
After a 3-year trial, the court has rejected Wes's version of events. It found Stephen to be a credible and reliable witness, describing his testimony as truthful and consistent. The court ruled that the state had proven its case beyond a reasonable doubt. Sentencing has been postponed to the 13th of May. Wes is also expected back in court next month for an extradition hearing, where he's wanted in Scotland to face similar charges. Ntutuzelo Nene, Eyewitness News in Wynberg.
Joburg's emergency service is on high alert this afternoon as severe thunderstorms are expected to hit large parts of the city. The South African Weather Service has warned that heavy downpours could impact most regions, with low-lying areas, informal settlement and flood-prone roads particularly vulnerable. The city's water rescue unit and disaster management teams are monitoring the conditions closely. Residents are being urged to avoid crossing swollen river streams and drainage channels, while motorists have been advised to drive with caution. Joburg EMS spokesperson Robert Mulaudzi.
We also have our disaster management monitoring teams in all 7 regions of the city. All our fire stations are fully operational, so we are ready to respond to all water-related emergencies which might occur.
And the DA is urging President Cyril Ramaphosa to condemn the arrest of Zimbabwean opposition leader Tendai Biti in his home country. Biti, who leads the Constitutional Defenders Forum, was detained in Mutare at the weekend alongside party members and a local journalist. Authorities have charged them under public order laws, alleging they failed to notify officials of a private meeting. Biti has been campaigning against planned constitutional amendments to extend President Emmerson Mnangagwa's term from 5 to 7 years. DA MP Ryan Smith warns that the developments signal a deepening democratic crisis in Zimbabwe.
We call on President Cyril Ramaphosa and Minister Ronald Lamola to condemn Tendai Biti's arrest and urgently engage with Zimbabwean authorities through diplomatic channels to reconsider this draconian legislative proposal. South Africa cannot continue to prop up its fraternity of leaders who continue to trample on democracy and the rights of citizens across the Southern African region.
He adds that South Africa cannot remain silent.
This recent act of state oppression follows a worrying trend seen in countries such as Uganda and Tanzania, which have arrested opposition leaders on trumped-up charges of treason to silence opposing voices and sideline democracy.
A cloudy Tuesday in store for Gauteng tomorrow, with scattered afternoon showers and thunder showers. Lows of between 17 and 19 degrees and highs of between 22 and 24.
Accident seen in Midrand on the N1 northbound before New Road, causing more than an hour delay all the way from the Butlu interchange. As a result, several routes are congested in the Midrand area. These include New Road, Old Pretoria Road, Allendale Road, the R55, as well as Herrick Lawn.
The top story in EWN, former Cape Town teacher Ian Wes has been found guilty of indecently assaulting a former learner only known as Stephen.
Bongani Bingwa, 702 Breakfast.
Weekday mornings, 6 to 9.
The passing of Chuck Norris, who I did not know was a MAGA supporter. And Donald Trump, of course, waxing lyrical about Chuck Norris, as he would, because he was a supporter, in contrast to what he said about the former FBI director, about whom he wrote he was glad that he was dead, that it was a good thing that he was dead. This is the president of a country. Can you imagine? The tapping of the shoulder comment isn't, as Amo was suggesting, to tell him to be quiet. You tap the shoulder when you're here to take the guy away, and they tap your shoulder and they say, it's time. It's time, man. Hey? Wouldn't the whole world breathe a sigh of relief?
Bongani Bingwa, 6 to 9.
On 702.
With Outsurance, saving on your car insurance feels like getting an interest rate cut from the bank. 30-year-old Dineo saves an unbelievable 1,094 Rand on her 2025 Kia Sonet. Get a quote now, and if Outsurance can save you money, ask for 500 Rand or 1,500 Rand if you've been claim-free, and with the same insurer for 3 years. Get savings or cash. SMS out to 45142. That's out to 45142. Outsurance, licensed insurer, and FSP. T's and C's and information online.
Managing your workforce shouldn't be complicated. That's why businesses choose Onacy, a proudly South African cloud-based payroll and HR solution. From payroll and e-recruitment to performance management and self-service tools, we streamline the way businesses handle their people. Scalable, secure, and always online, our system evolves with your needs because your workforce deserves the best. Switch to Onacy and experience payroll and HR done right. Visit onacy.com today.
Buy any Hills pet food and you could win one of 10 holidays worth 200,000 Rand each. Or take the bucks. Scientifically proven formulas for your pet. An adventure for you. Hills Pet Nutrition. Science does more. T's and C's apply.
702.
WhatsApp us on 072 702 1702.
Good afternoon, Tabo. This is Camilo from Pretoria. I used to take criticisms badly and to heart until I realized that generally you'll never be criticized by someone who's doing better than you. It is always someone lower, even much lower than where you are. So when someone criticizes me, I look at them and their stature relative to me, and then if, well, as in most cases, they are much lower than me, then I just ignore it.
Afternoon, Tabo. Criticism, unfair criticism is what I don't know how to deal with. I really, it presses me on and touch me on the studio, and I react with the vigor that it comes. I really respond the same way. When it is unfair, I deal with it in that manner. I don't play fair. I'm really that person. And when it is fair criticism, it depends. Sometimes it depends from time to time and from person to person. And I check first that if it's genuine and it's fair criticism, and then it's genuine, I kind of open up and deal with what needs to be dealt with. Eden from Marshalltown.
Oh, from Marshalltown. Very interesting. Very interesting. And I mean, is it true though? There's something that I don't believe. Call me skeptical. Is it true that most of us don't take insults and criticism in that way? Are we all made of steel? They don't affect us. They don't sting. We just move on. If someone criticizes you, you just move on. I don't think so. There's so many people out there with fragile egos who can't take an insult, joking or otherwise. I think we at times all pretend to be these stoics and we are firm and it doesn't affect us. But I think there's a time when criticism really hits hard. There is a time. I don't think that all of us are admitting to the fact that it can be extremely brutal and it can be agonizing. You can sit with it like a fire in your heart and you need a little bit of zambak on your soul and just to soothe it out. It can. I think it's only fair to admit that at times an insult does sting a little bit harsher than it ought to. Am I wrong? Am I right? Maybe not. Let us know on 072 702 1702. 19 minutes to 5 o'clock.
EWN Sport.
With the great Tolegele Mganga, and she'll give us the very latest in the world of sports. Good afternoon and welcome again, Tolegele.
Afternoon, Tabo. While Adeslam Adu has reiterated that Orlando Pirates will do everything to win the Betway Premiership title. That's after they return to the summit of the standings with victory over TS Galaxy. Rilem Fukeng scored his first professional hat-trick in the 6-0 thumping of the Rockets, while Wadu has called on supporters to back the team as they look to win their first championship in 14 years.
When you see players performing with a lot of trust, lot of confidence, it's because they feel supported. They are not afraid to make mistakes. It's what happened, in some games, because the guys, they are not in the right environment to perform because they are scared to make mistakes. But today they felt a fantastic support from our fans. It's what we are looking for. If somebody has to criticize, please criticize the coach.
Two managers in England are under pressure following their Premier League defeats this weekend. Liam Rossini reportedly faces the axe if he fails to qualify Chelsea for next season's UEFA Champions League. That's after the Blues suffered a 3-0 defeat to Everton.
My job, it hurts. Regardless of your position, it hurts to lose games of football. In terms of moving forward and having this time is to look at the bigger picture. We're 1 point away from the Champions League position. We need to keep working in this way. We need to keep giving the players as much confidence as possible. And hopefully this break of games now for us comes at a really, really good moment.
For Eddie Howe, he stated his commitment to Newcastle United following their defeat to Sunderland in the Tyne-Wear derby. The match was marred by a 3-minute delay in play in the second half because of racist abuse from the crowd. That was towards Sunderland's Lucharo Gotrauda. The result gave the Black Caps their first league double over the Magpies since the 2014-15 season.
I'm fully committed to the job. I'm disappointed in my delivery today and my delivery the last week. The Barcelona game was very tough. Today's even tougher. I always, as I said after the Brentford game, absorb that blame myself. I don't look to deflect it anywhere else. Certainly won't deflect it to my players. I protect my players till my last breath. It's going to be a tough, painful few days for me.
And former All Blacks assistant coach Scott McLeod has been named Wallabies defence coach under incoming boss Les Kiss. He'll join the Wallabies ahead of their test against Japan on August the 8th, which will be Kiss's first game in charge after current head coach Joe Schmidt steps aside. McLeod was part of the All Blacks staff at the last 2 World Cups, working under Steve Hansen and Ian Foster. Tolagele Mganga, Eyewitness News Sport.
EWN Traffic.
EWN Traffic is brought to you by Outsurance. SMS out to 45142 now. You could save on car insurance. If you don't, ask them for 500 rands. Mr. Karabo Chadli, how do the roads look?
Well, at this stage in Midrand, we still have that accident seen on the N1 northbound. This is before New Road, causing more than an hour delay all the way from the Butler interchange. As a result, traffic is congested throughout Midrand. Routes affected include New Road, Old Pretoria Road, Ellendale Road, the R55, as well as Herika Lawn. While in Woodmead, bumper-to-bumper traffic on Bowling Road between Satra Avenue and Witkoppen. In Sandton, expect more than an hour delay heading towards Midrand on the M1 northbound between Killarney Bends and the Butler interchange. In Edenvale, heading towards Bedfordview, slow-moving traffic, R24 westbound between Macro Store and the Kilulis interchange. And in Waterkloof, Pretoria, there's an accident seen on the N1 northbound near Garsfontein Road, causing heavy delays in both directions. This is between the R21 and the Brook Plus interchange. If you come across any other traffic issues, kindly WhatsApp us on 072-702-1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app. The Outsurance pointsmen know that every car on the road carries a story. Like the eager beaver driving to meet the woman of his dreams. Butterflies in his stomach, GPS on full volume. He checks his hair for the 7th time. Looking good. The Outsurance pointsmen know it's not just a car in traffic. It's a possible love story on the move. Every story is different and every story matters. That's why the Outsurance pointsmen have been doing what they do since 2005 in proud partnership with 702. Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP.
You're now listening to 702 Afternoon Drive with John Perlman. Brought to you by Telkom Business. Possible begins here.
702 Podcast.
On PrimeMediaPlus.com.
14 minutes to 5 o'clock. John is not here. My name is Thabo Sholamasha. I'm happy to be with you all the way till 6 o'clock. And we'll continue reflecting on some of the messages that you've sent on 011-883-0702. That's the number to call, by the way. The messages would have come through to 072-702-1702. Celia's Brink will be my guest in a short while. And they are saying, as the Tswane Caucus, that they have written to the Madlanga Commission on evidence that they've uncovered, and it includes highlight the ANC businesses that are involved in tendering in Tswane. But we'll touch on that in a short while. But for now, I'd like you to stop whatever it is that you're doing as I ask you and my colleagues in the studio this question. Shall we start with you, Mr. Charlie, or shall we start with Tolagele Mganga?
Ladies first.
Gentlemen first.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Okay, let's start with a controversial person. But both of you are always controversial. Both of you. That's one and Jalili too. Let's go to you, Mr. Charlie.
What's up?
A dream that never came true for you. One thing you want, it didn't. One thing.
To play in the World Cup as a Bafana player.
Really?
It was my dream. I used to play soccer in primary school. And Dr. Kumalo, Benny McCarthy, they were like my idols. And I thought I was going to make it in. But yeah,
were you a good player though? In all fairness, I mean, because that counts, you know.
You know, Thabo, I'm so glad you brought up that line of questioning. There are many people right now sitting in the car that will tell us about that knee injury that happened. Guys,
in
that's
1982.
because you were the best in your high school. Doesn't mean you were gonna make it.
No, not at all.
And I'm glad you brought it up.
Because I mean, people have these high hopes of reaching the skies, but and going to the stars
School
with
of
NASA.
Excellence has never once been to your game.
Exactly.
Mara, you were like, I'm gonna make no way.
You failed maths course then at 5, but you wanted to be a scientist. What guys? Please just be fair to us.
It was a dream. I went to all the trials. I went to Pirates trials. I went to Chiefs.
How old were you then?
Even your team.
Yeah, no,
How
I went
old
to
were you
trials. Obviously I was young in primary school,
Primary school.
high school. You know,
but everyone is good in primary school, bro. In primary school, all of us are good.
Yeah,
man.
that's true.
It's not wrong what you're saying,
No, yeah.
but it's not right how you are saying it.
Okay, I see. Okay. Am I insulting people and they may not absorb it well? Okay. No. But on a serious note, so that dream didn't come true.
Well,
I'm obviously joking. I'm not making.
No,
Yeah. Okay. Just I don't want you going home and. and for you, Tolagele, you wanted to be a doctor, but that dream was shattered.
I realized, like, by grade 4, the maths and science interest, it's never been in me. I will never be that.
Yeah.
I think for me, like, it's something very small. But I always wanted to be head girl when I was in high school. Like,
really?
I got the good marks.
Yeah.
But one thing that I realized, a lot of what happens in school is also just being very popular. I was a shy kid. So unfortunately, because I wasn't like actively making large groups of friends, that was always going to count against me. Because apart from the teachers that knew I had high marks, the rest of the school didn't know me like that. So it always like bothered me that I never made it as a head girl.
Oh man. I mean, we can do something here in Prime Media and have head boy and head girl and we'll pay a few people and it's never too late.
No, it's okay. That dream we can let go. Unlike Karabo's World Cup dream.
Oh my gosh. No, I'd love to find out from you anything. I mean, a dream, something that you really wanted to happen, but now you realize it's too late. It's too late for mama. Let us know on 072 702 1702. 10 minutes to 5 o'clock.
Let's walk the talk.
702.
The DA Tshwane wrote to Madlanga Commission on evidence that they've uncovered pertaining to water and security contracts, and they've mentioned some other individuals or some entities that are complicit, if not implicated, in this. Celia Brink joins us right now, mayoral candidate in the city of Tshwane for the DA, leads the DA caucus in the Tshwane Council. Celia Brink, thanks for your time. Always great chatting to you. I hope you're good.
Hi, Tabo. Great to talk to you.
What is it that firstly made you write to Madlanga Commission? That's if you haven't already. And what are you trying to get the attention of the Commission for?
So we're preparing the submission and we'll make sure that it is sufficiently detailed. We have been on the trace of two types of businesses in Tshwane for the past year, and that is security contracts and water tankering. Now, last year in the adjustment budget of the city, right after the ANC-led coalition took over, these two expenditure items were increased disproportionately with money taken from infrastructure, water, electricity, etc. And that's when we started raising concern. And as the year went on, we started discovering that ANC-linked individuals were benefiting from an enormous increase in expenditure on these two items. And the problem with that, aside from the fact that political influence might be used to improperly benefit individuals, is that money taken away from infrastructure and spent on contracted services means that services are bound to deteriorate, especially water. Water shortages, the stalling of the Hammanskraal Clean Water Project, and so forth. And towards the end of last year, we made revelations, we made accusations which have been borne out against the Deputy Mayor and Finance MMC in Tshwane, who's also the ANC regional chairperson, that he is benefiting directly from undisclosed interest in a security company. Earlier this year, we also discovered he's got interest in a water tankering company. And then Sunday Times has reported that the treasurer of the ANC in Tshwane is benefiting from water tankering. And what has been revealed at Madlanga is that police officers, at least one, has been acting as a go-between politicians and officials. And there was the explicit statement that the EFF and Action SA has also interfered in tender processes. And we believe if we share this information, the Commission and its investigators might connect the dots and find other things that might be relevant.
I was about to ask, and that the Madlanga Commission, as we all know, and in this judicial inquiry, it is mainly set up as far as I understand it, to investigate allegations of criminal syndicates, political interference and corruption within the law enforcement, intelligence and judiciary systems. Why does this matter belong there and not to another forum like going straight to the police station, opening a case, as opposed to Madlanga Commission?
Oh, we've done that. Last year, we made a case against Eugene Modise, the ANC Deputy Mayor and Finance MMC. We've been tracking that case. But what the Madlanga Commission has revealed is that a police officer, Mr. Sergeant Fani Nkosi, has been the person facilitating interactions between politicians and officials of a corrupt nature. And the more we've listened and the more that has been revealed, it would seem that there are 4 or 5 crime syndicates operating in the city, and that a number of individuals are connected to these syndicates. So we might be talking about police today, but as revealed at that commission, it is connected to security, it is connected to water tankering, potentially, it's potentially connected to waste collection. And the strategic approach to this is if you can identify the syndicates and if you can link individuals in different contracts with each other, it might make the work of law enforcement and getting to the bottom of the corruption of the criminal justice system easier, more effective.
Yeah, and another individual within the city is the Tshwane CFO, Gareth Mnisi. You also have quite a bit to say about him, and you are compiling information on him. What is it exactly that he has done wrong, in your view, that deserves the attention of the Commission?
Well, it's been revealed at the Commission. I mean, we have got bits of information which might or might not be relevant to his conduct. But it is the WhatsApp messages, obviously, of Sergeant Nkosi, for those who have watched the Madlanga Commission, that reveals apparent correspondence with the CFO that indicates to tender interference by political parties, by the leader of the EFF, and this involves potentially taxi bosses in Tshwane and so forth. So the case against the CFO is a simple one in that the Municipal Council, which is sitting on Thursday, must receive a report from the mayor about allegations against him, and a preliminary investigation must be launched. That is largely for the city of Tshwane to determine, and the power to act is with the city. And I want to add this as well, that the power to suspend the MMC for finance, Eugene Modise, is in the hands of the mayor. She's already suspended one of her MMCs, Kolofelo Morudi. But we believe the strength of what has been revealed about the role of Eugene Modise also should prompt her to suspend him. He's in a critical portfolio of finance, and until certain determinations about his conduct has been made, he shouldn't be entrusted with the city's finances.
To what extent would you say that this plays in the hands of an upcoming local government election, and you'd be accused of electioneering conveniently, and Madlanga Commission is a convenient tool for you to advance those objectives?
Well, if a political party is not saying something about corruption, about what its response to corruption would be and what the standards of conduct are, whether it be a year or 2 years or 5 years before a local government election, quite frankly, they shouldn't be a trusted leading government. Corruption is the issue affecting the capacity of the state to fulfill a meaningful developmental role. Corruption of water tankering means that taps run dry, that people don't have access to water. Corruption in electricity means more power outages. Corruption in security means the vandalization of infrastructure and of facilities, and same with waste and all other service delivery issues. If we are not, quite frankly, campaigning on and making a point about corruption, we're not doing our job as the official opposition in a democracy, but also we're not a very good prospect for taking over government.
Sele Brink, thanks very much for your time. Mayoral candidate in Tshwane for the Democratic Alliance. 2 minutes to 5.
The Aubrey Masangu Show on 702.
I cover on my show issues of advisory, whether it is legal matters, whether it is financial matters. I cover day-to-day issues as far as current affairs are concerned. I cover the politics of the day and how we as South Africans are interpreting them. My listener is a curious 702 lander. They want to know what are the backstories, the stories behind what we are hearing on the airwaves. They want to understand what drives the different issues that have us talking. What I love about the 702 family and 702 Land is the fact that we have 702 Landers who are responsive, who are present, who care about their communities and who want to know how they can be a part of the process of making our areas better, but also our country better. And that for me is a great privilege. I am totally indebted to the providence out there to be talking to these people on a daily basis.
The Aubrey Masangu Show, weekdays from 8 to midnight.
Think fast, fast downloads, fast streaming, fast wins, because whether you are chasing high scores, deadlines, or next episode, buffering is not part of the plan. That's why your home needs the power of OpenServe Fiber, fast, reliable Wi-Fi that keeps up with your life. And when you sign up before the end of March, you'll score a free Netflix voucher. Level up your home connection with OpenServe Fiber and feel the difference speed makes. Visit openserve.co.za today. T's and C's apply.
Zakes owns an electrical business that lit up the neighborhood. Literally. One small spark, one big legal nightmare. But he has public liability insurance from Budget. The damage was covered and his client sorted. Sharp, sharp. To get public liability cover, visit budgetinsurance.co.za. Budget Insurance, official insurer for good South Africans. Budget is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
Gauteng is currently experiencing high water consumption. To avoid water interruptions, residents are urged to use water sparingly to allow equitable supply. Act now, save water. Every drop counts. This message is brought to you by the Department of Water and Sanitation, Rand Water, Gauteng Provincial Government, City of Johannesburg, City of Tshwane, and City of Ekurhuleni.
Elevate your flying experience with Lift Premium. Enjoy even more space, comfort, and convenience with priority boarding, extra baggage allowance, and complimentary lounge access. Visit lift.co.za today.
This is EWN.
Mashatile denies links to suspected crime boss Vusumuzi Madlanga, and the DA wants Defence Ministry to explain how the money will be spent. Good afternoon, I'm Bali Dlamini. Deputy President Paul Mashatile has denied meeting with controversial businessman Vusumuzi Madlanga. This follows the testimony of Sergeant Fanny Nkosi at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry earlier today. Nkosi testified that Madlanga wanted to get his credit card back from him as he was going to be meeting with the Deputy President. But in a statement released today, Mashatile has denied the link to Madlanga, saying he was out of the country at the time. Deputy Presidency spokesperson Keith Koza.
Deputy President Mashatile categorically denies the claims. Of significance is that the Deputy President does not know the individual referred to in the testimony and has never had any association or dealings with them. Of greater significance is that the Deputy President was out of the country at the time that Mr. Madlanga purportedly met with him or intended to do so.
At the same time, evidence leaders at the Madlanga Commission have poked holes into top cop Fanny Nkosi's explanation of why police found 385,000 rand in cash at his home. In October last year, police raided Nkosi's home and found the cash in his safe. Nkosi has told the commission he was keeping the money safe for for his brother who had just sold the truck. Tabiso Koba reports.
The sale agreement between Sergeant Faninkosi's brother was signed on the 7th of October 2025, a day before the raid at his home. At the same time, the seller only signed the agreement on the 19th of December, which was 3 days after Nkosi submitted his statement to the Madlanga Commission on the matter. There's also discrepancies in the purchase price, as the sale agreement says the truck was sold for 400,000 rand, while the affidavit provided by Nkosi's brother says the truck was sold for 380,000 rand. Evidence leader Matthew Chaskelson.
What this looks to me from the outside is an attempt to explain the presence of 380,000 rands in cash in your safe. So that these documents were created after the event to try to explain how the money came into your safe.
No. I deny.
It's also emerged that the truck in question was purchased by Hats Lingwato, who's also Sergeant Nkosi's legal representative at the commission. Tabiso Koba, Eyewitness News.
Health Minister Dr. Aaron Motsoaledi says he is prepared to establish a tribunal if any parties dispute the health ombud's findings into 2 patient deaths in Gauteng, as follows damning reports into the death of psychiatric patient Lerato Mohlamme at the George Mokare Academic Hospital, as well as a neonatal death at Netcare Femina Hospital. The investigations found systemic failures, including poor patient care, safety breaches and governance issues, with the neonatal case linked to incorrect medication and breakdowns in communication. Mongezi Koko reports.
Health Minister Aaron Motsoaledi says while affected parties have the right to challenge the findings, government will continue to act on the Ombud's recommendations unless a court rules otherwise. He says a tribunal led by a retired judge or magistrate can be established provided there is sufficient evidence to support claims that the process was flawed.
So people always take issues on review, but the fact that they were found guilty doesn't mean we'll stop doing what we have to do until such time that a retired judge or magistrate passes a verdict that there's something wrong with the health Ombud report. As long as there's nothing like that, we will take appropriate action and report to the Ombud.
Meanwhile, the Gauteng government has already indicated it will implement the Ombud's recommendations, including disciplinary action against those implicated. Mongezi Koko, Eyewitness News.
The DA wants Defence Minister Angie Motshekga to return to Parliament and break down how a 823 million rand cash injection towards the Army's deployment in crime fighting will be used. The party says there is still no explanation on how the funds will be utilised. The South African National Defence Force is currently assisting police to fight crimes like illegal mining and gangs in the various provinces. Babalondenze reports.
Nicholas Gotzel, the DA NCOP member on Security and Justice, says they formally requested Minister Angie Motshekga and the SANDF to appear before the Joint Standing Committee on Defence and the Portfolio Committee on Police this Friday. He says they must provide a full and proper breakdown of the 823 million rand deployment cost, including how the amount was determined and what safeguards are in place to prevent waste or corruption. Gotzel addressed the matter before the Joint Standing Committee's last meeting.
So it is critically important that this committee be provided with a breakdown of exactly how the SANDF has arrived at the amount of 823.2 plus million.
He says they need the cost breakdown because the Defense and Military Veterans Department accounts for 34% of all corruption investigations by the SIU and the Hawks. Baba Londenza, Eyewitness News.
And in the UK, the number of confirmed and suspected cases of meningitis in Kent has decreased to 29. The UK Security Agency says 3 cases previously thought confirmed had been downgraded after further testing. It adds that more cases would likely be downgraded in the coming days with the completion of further lab testing. Last week, a 21-year-old university student and an 18-year-old died from the virus. According to investigations, the source of the outbreak was traced to a local nightclub. Gold is trading at $4,425.08 an ounce. The rand is at 16.83 to the dollar, 22.54 to the pound, 19.48 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $114.05 a barrel.
In Woodmead, bumper-to-bumper traffic on Bowling Road between Satara Avenue and Witkoppen. There's also slow-moving traffic. This is in Sandton on the M1 northbound between Killarney Bends and the Batlu interchange. And in Randburg, there's a traffic pressure on the N1 southbound from the Platoon to Change all the way to Winnie Mandela Drive.
And your sport, Mamelodi Sundowns through to the semi-finals of the CAF Champions League despite second leg defeat to Stade Malien. Pep Guardiola becomes the first manager to win the Carabao Cup 5 times following Manchester City's triumph over Arsenal. And Springbok women's 7-side secure World Championship qualification.
A cloudy Tuesday in store for Gauteng tomorrow with scattered afternoon showers expected. Johannesburg drops to overnight lows of 17 degrees, peaking at 22. Pretoria 19 and 24, and Vereniging 17 and 23 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour, Deputy President Paul Mashatile has denied meeting with controversial businessman Vusimuzi Kat Matlala.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
702.
Live
On the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM. Let's walk the talk.
Nine minutes after 5 o'clock, Thabo, Shole Mashao in for John Perlman. We're together till 6. Just a couple of minutes to go, I suppose. About 51 minutes or so. So make the best of it. On everything else that we've discussed, feel free to jump in, share your opinion, and add your 5 cents worth. It's worth more than that, obviously. Great having you with us. In this hour, we will speak to political commentator Papano Pasha. She's insisting that the march of the ANC was somewhat irrelevant because you have people who are in power taken to the streets to change things that they could otherwise do so in their offices. And she argues that the policy of the ANC affects the policy of government. And she says, why go into the streets? And she calls them marching with the oppressed. Those who are in power marching with the oppressed, and blatantly saying that there is some element of hypocrisy. We will speak to Papano Pasha in a short while. We'll also speak to the ANC. We've been trying to get hold of them, and they said that they will come back and offer us their representative to respond to Papano's assertions. Much later on, Song of Your Day will also be there, so there's no reason to go anywhere else. Stick around here on 702. Speaking of voice notes, you've sent some. Let's go straight to them, Karabo, on 072 702 1702.
For more about 702,
go to primemediaplus.com.
Hi, Tabo. This is KK from Roodepoort. I always wanted to be a cricketer. I played cricket all the way from primary school up until like grade 10. And I remember we played one school, it was like John Foster War School. And we were the first team at the time. We played the second team or the third team, I don't remember. And there was this kid that was bowling so fast, I literally could not hit the ball. And I realized then that I quit the cricket team probably grade 10. I was like, this is not going to work out. I quit, went back, focused on my studies, and I realized that I am not talented enough.
Hi, Tabo and the 702 family. I've always wanted to be part of the Miss South Africa pageant. I was in pageants in school, in varsity. I attempted to enter Miss SA once, but it never happened. But I mean, right now I realize that it will never happen because obviously because of my age now. And I've gained a lot of weight. So yeah, I think I've let that go.
Listen, there's that pageant called Mrs. South Africa. I don't think they take those things into consideration. I think it's less demanding as far as the attributes that you've mentioned. But I think try them out. You'll never know. Or, I don't know, Miss Westgate Mall, Miss Mendlin, Miss something. I think try. Don't let it go, please. Don't let it go. You can still have at least one title. Go for it. And in case you're wondering why are those voice notes coming through, well, we asked earlier on, is there a dream that you missed? And like a train, it's not coming back. It's out of the station now. It's off. The horse has left the stable, and it's too late for Mama. What is that dream? You've always wanted to be a soccer player like Garabo, perhaps, and it's never going to happen. Or you always wanted to be a lawyer and it's not going to happen anymore. What is it? And share that with us on 011-883-0702. 13 minutes after 5.
EWN Traffic.
This EWN Traffic is brought to you by South African Airways. See just how far you can go with them. Book at flysaa.com now. Mr. Jali, how do the roads look?
Well, at this stage, bumper traffic in Woodmead on Bowling Road. This is between Satara Avenue and Witkoppen, while in Midrand, there's bumper traffic. This is on Allendale Road. This is between Mastiff and the R55, while in Randburg, there's traffic pressure N1 southbound between Beyers Nordia and Winnie Mandela Drive. In Sandton, expect more than an hour delay. M1 northbound from Killarney Bends to the Bethlehem interchange, while in Edenville, slow-moving traffic R24 westbound. This is from Macro Store all the way to the Kilulis interchange, while in Waterkloof, Pretoria, there's an accident scene N1 northbound near Garsfontein Road, causing heavy delays in both directions between the R21 Flying Saucer interchange and Linwood Road. And in Hermanstad, leaving the Pretoria CBD, expect heavy delays. This is on Eskiam Pahlele between WF Nkomo and the R80. If you come across any other traffic issues, kindly WhatsApp us on 072-702-1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
This is what progress sounds like. At South African Airways, we've added more aircraft to the runway, increased our flights from just over 1,000 in 2021 to over 24,000 last year. And we continue to add more destinations and routes. It's steady progress over time. We know there's still work to do, but every day we're building something stronger. An airline that shares the resilience of the country it carries. South African Airways. Book your next flight at flysaa.com today.
Driving the conversation on 702 Afternoon Drive with John Perlman. Powered by Telkom Business. Possible begins here.
At Checkers, Easter is better and better with extra savings on every shop. Get more for less with deals on a Lindt chocolate bunny 100 grams for $99.99. Cape Point frozen cream prawns 700 grams for $159.99. And Coca-Cola Original Taste Less Sugar Soft Drink 2 litre 2 for 45 Rand. Deals valid until 6 April. Easter, better and better. Only at Checkers, Checkers Hyper, or shop on 6060.
What's with the camouflage, Dorf? I'm going hunting. Just me, nature, and my most underrated off-roader, a rental car.
Hunting? You could fit that little car in your backpack, Dorf.
I sit in the driver's seat. Baggage at the back, chairs on the roof. The kudu is going to get in and strap its own seatbelt, Savvy.
Could do with more legroom, Dorf. Go hunt for a new 4x4 at Weebuck Cars. They got great deals.
Oh, shot, Savvy.
Don't be doof, be savvy. We buy cars geared for that big trip, geared for you.
We're on the ground and in the air with Thulani Sijo, founder of Take a Pic Drones. What's the flight plan for your connectivity?
The need for stable network connectivity is an absolute must in my field.
And with Telkom Business Fiber and Flexon, Thulani uploads high-res tower inspections and navigates seamlessly on the go. Get Stream Connect Fiber from 399 Rand per month and Flexon 4 Pro from 219 Rand per month. Call 10213 or click telcom.co.za. T's and C's apply. Telkom Business. Possible begins here.
702
Let's walk the talk on 92.7
and 106 FM.
17 minutes after 5 o'clock, I have been threatening that I'll be speaking to Papano Pasha, and later on, the representative from the ANC, Jerry Nevari, will join us to respond to that. She wrote in the Citizen newspaper today that new oppressor walks together with the poor. And Papano mentions that the slogans at that march were bold, and some of them said, hashtag will not be bullied, hashtag defend our sovereignty. The target was, however, vague. External bullying, foreign critics, and named forces seeking to undermine the nation. That's what the ANC had said. And Papano's argument is that this perhaps was not necessary at all. Papano, you'll speak for yourself. Welcome. Good afternoon. I hope you're well.
Afternoon, Tabo, and afternoon to your listeners as well.
You're saying that with this march, the ANC wants to divert attention from being held accountable for corruption.
Yeah, but I think before I even respond to that, Tabo, I think all of us as patriotic South Africans ought to ask, since the ANC is the governing party, was this march in the country's national interest? And I think many people have asked, does the ANC have the right or does it not have the right to march? But I think this question is very key. Was the march in our national interest?
Perhaps in the interest of the ANC?
Of course, but the ANC is a governing party. But second to that, Thabo, the context of the march was that we will not be bullied, but over and above that, that it was fighting an imperial power. And if you would have seen the march, the placards that were held and the flags that were held were Iranian flags. Now, the question that is quite interesting for myself, and of course I think for many historians, is whether the ANC is not aware that Iran predates Islam. The very fact that Iran itself, or the Islamic State of Iran, is an imperial power. And I think that's where the confusion is. But I also presume that the ANC knows better why it was marching, because it is a contradiction. You've got millions of Iranian people all over the world who have been fighting for decades for their self-determination. And you cannot tell me that the ANC does not know that the Islamic regime is an imperial power.
And so perhaps it's not only about Iran, right? It's about other imperialist forces that the ANC says want to bully South Africa into various decisions. And an example could be the USA.
Well, interestingly, I was looking at the numbers earlier this week. The United States of America is our second largest trade partner. Now, if we are going to have an honest discussion, for me, our discussion must also be in rands and cents. I'm not quite sure what would be the premise of the ANC. Of course, there have been engagements and debates between the ANC and the US. And those discussions, of course, they are not new. And they've been about whether Iran is funding the ANC. So there's been numerous discussions. But at the end of the day, the ANC is a governing party, and it is obligated to its own international relations framework. And its international relations framework is that it must put the national interest of South Africans and South Africa first. Whether the ANC has a poster, an ideological poster, that's something else. Of course, yes, it's allowed to march. Of course, the ANC is allowed to have an ideological poster, but our national interests supersede the interests of the ANC.
To what extent should they just be looking away, especially as a political party? And they'll argue that they've deployed people into government. But as a party, they do have a prerogative to engage into activism that will stimulate society. What do you find apprehensive about the march as such? Is it because they have the power to change decisions through their deployees in government? Or is it just Iran? You feel that it's not a cause worth fighting for?
Well, of course, yes, it's not a cause we're fighting for. It's not in our national interest, as I said. But over and above that, the ANC really does not have any moral authority to be entertaining what is happening outside of South Africa. The ANC to this day has not been accountable for the rampant corruption that we have seen, not only in local government, but at national government. It still has to account for the recommendations of Zondo. It still has to account to the Madlanga Commission. So you had the very people who have been accused of corruption, and where there's desktop evidence to an extent, who were marching with the very poor. Because I will tell you this, Thabo, the thousands of people who were bused don't even know about Iran. These are people who do not have water, who do not have electricity, who have been shortchanged by the very ANC leaders who were marching with them. So I am saying that before the ANC could go and fight for another country, it has a responsibility, a moral responsibility, one, to account to the people of South Africa, and two, to ensure that it governs. and the ANC has not been governing appropriately.
Papano will have to leave it at that. Thanks very much. Papano Pasha, political analyst and chairperson of the Center for Alternative Political and Economic Dynamics. Listening closely to that interview is Jerry Navari, who's the ANC member as well. And Jerry wants to respond to Papano. Afternoon. Welcome, Jerry. Any key issues that you'd like to touch on? Well, Papano blatantly says the ANC does not have any moral authority to be engaging in such marches. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Thabo, and the listeners of 702. I must disclose that I know Papano very well. And then I've interacted with her quite for many years now. I'm happy that she has seen Damascus to an extent that she can question the moral authority of the ANC, primarily because she has been a part of the Bell Pottinger project that were meant to subvert the interests of South Africans by supporting the Gupta's family as part of their spokesperson. So I'm happy that she has seen Damascus, that the ANC must now act on the Zondo Commission reports, which is quite interesting. I like that we can't declare everybody incorrigible. I think she has seen Damascus, but she went to Jacob Zuma's party, come back, claim that there's no democracy. Now she called the ANC a most open and democratic organization. That is it's an oppressor. The party that delivered at least 98% of pipe water in South Africa, the party that actually have given almost all 90% of learners and students in South Africa a free education.
Jerry, what did the ANC achieve through this march?
Look, the ANC, like any other organization, is allowed to have campaigns. And this is one of the campaigns we have chosen on the basis of the transpiring global politics and also national politics. If you have listened to the ambassador of the U.S. when he was addressing in the Western Cape, he speaks about determining South African politics on BE. I mean, that's purely interferences. And as the U.S., they have no right and space to speak about our position on policy. Redress is part of our core policies as the ANC because we have got historical imbalance of the past, and that has not been achieved. As part of our liberation, we still stand firm that we need to redress the imbalance of the past. So for Papano, that there's no global interferences, internal interferences, and they are ones of the people who have been used by these foreign forces.
Jerry, her argument is also mainly that the people that you are marching with have got no idea what the march was about. They were just bust into this march, and they'll be going back home to empty taps, various lack of service delivery experiences in their hometowns, and so the march for them, chances are, was not worth it.
The assumption on her is that the ANC must fold its arm and not do anything about anything. Actually, she's saying the ANC must close shop, must run campaign because there's a problem of water in Johannesburg. The answer is no. These are multi-folding processes that the ANC are taking. We're even dealing with the issue of actually reigniting local government. We're focusing on rebuilding local government. And we can't say because we're doing that, therefore we must stop, having campaigns as the party. I mean, she's just delusional.
Jerry, we have to leave it on that note. 26 minutes after 5 o'clock, Jerry Navari is an ANC member.
EWN Traffic.
EWN Traffic is brought to you by Outsurance. SMS out to 45142 now. You could save on car insurance. If you don't, ask them for 500 rands. Mr. Charlie, the roads, how do they look, sir?
Bumper-to-bumper traffic in Woodmead. This is on Bowling Road between Satara Avenue and Witkoppen, while in Midrand, traffic heavily backed up on Ellendale Road between the R55 and Mastiff. Sandton, expect more than an hour delay. M1 northbound from Killarney Bends to the Butlu interchange. While in Randburg, traveling towards Fourways, there's slow-moving traffic on the N1 northbound between Winnie Mandela Drive and Bayers Nordia. There's also slow-moving traffic. This is in Edenville between. This is on the R24 westbound between Macro Store and the Gilulis interchange. While in Tshwane, Waterkloof, there's an accident scene. N1 northbound near Garsfontein Road, causing heavy delays in both directions. This is between the R21 Flying Saucer interchange and Linwood Road. If you come across any other traffic issues, kindly WhatsApp us on 072-702-1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
You know that feeling when you get a deadline extension on a project? That's how good it feels to see the Outsurance pointsmen on your route. Everyone breathes a little easier knowing the Outsurance pointsmen are on the roads. They've been easing the traffic congestion so everyone gets where they need to be quickly and safely for the past 20 years. With Outsurance, you really always get something out. In proud partnership with 702, show them some love online using hashtag pointsmanlove, licensed insurer and FSP.
EWN Business.
With the great Stephen Grotes, what's the latest? Good afternoon again, Steve.
Double good afternoon. I mean, oil prices now have dropped 14%, going below $100 a barrel since Trump's announcement that there is a negotiation underway with Iran. Some Iranian state media are saying that's not true. Reuters reporting what seems to have more detail of who's actually been meeting with the Iranians and where. And yes, Jared Kushner is involved and Witkoff is involved, the kind of usual people around Trump. All of that pushing the JSE up by the end of the day, was down by 3% at one point, but up 0.35 at 110,460 at the close. Financials up 0.09, industrials down 0.07, and then resources jumped up 1.25. I think they were down 5% at one point today. So you can see the sort of scale of reaction to that announcement. Even the rand's much stronger, so oil is weaker, gold is stronger, and we have this yo-yo effect, and we'll examine this yo-yo impact and what it sort of means for the system, if you like, a little later on the Money Show. We Buy Cars down 8%, Tungela down 7.5% at the end. They were hit hard by the strength of the rand last year. Coal prices were weaker as well in dollar terms, and then there was a non-cash impairment of 8.8 billion rand. So all of that having a huge impact on them. They did record a loss. Optasia down 5%, Santam down nearly 5%. And the Premier Group down at 3.64. Mr. Price down 2.5. An astonishing day for Boxer. They're up 6%, and Pick n Pay's up 4.23. These are the kind of shares you want to get into now when there's so much volatility around, because someone's going to have to always sell bread. So, you know, that's where you go. Anglo's up 6. 91 is up 4.9. And then Implats is up nearly 3%. And PSG's up 2.62 after reporting they expect their headline earnings to be up by over 30% for the year that ended in February. Advitech, we'll speak to them on the Money Show tonight. Their number of full qualifications issued by the Tertiary Group was up by 19%. They made 2 billion rand in profit. They've just opened that massive campus down the road, nearly 500,000 rand there. Goodness knows how much traffic it brings. We'll talk about that on the Money Show this evening. In the US now, obviously a very positive day so far. The Dow Jones up 2.45, the Nasdaq up 2.43, the S&P 500 up 2.2 on the day so far. All about oil prices, obviously. In the gold price now, $4,479.56 an ounce. Platinum, $1,895.40. And Brent crude, $97.59. The rand to the dollar, 16.72 to the euro, 19.43 to the British pound, 22.48. Stephen Grotes, EWN Business.
Mbali Dlamini standing by to give us the very latest on Eyewitness News headlines. Mbali, good afternoon.
Thanks, Tabo. Good afternoon. A KwaZulu-Natal taxi owner attached to the KwaMaphumulo Taxi Association has told the Nkabinde Inquiry he's living in fear of police because of deadly shootings. Association chairperson Sphamandla Mhlongo has been testifying at the inquiry, which is probing Advocate Andrew Chauke's fitness to hold office as the Director of Public Prosecutions in Gauteng South. Chauke is accused of acting outside his jurisdiction on cases involving the KZN Cato Manor Organized Crime Unit linked to a number of deaths in the taxi industry. Ntandla Mabaso reports.
Just a week ago, KwaZulu-Natal Police held a meeting with warring KwaMaphumulo and KwaDukuza Taxi Associations in Stenga after a shooting incident. While no one was killed, police recovered over 50 spent cartridges on the scene and confiscated over 20 guns. At the time of the meeting, taxi boss Sphamandla Mhlongo had already raised worries about his security. Mhlongo told the inquiry about KZN police and their alleged involvement in taxi wars.
I'm living in fear at the moment because the police here in KZN, they are used by our competitors, which is Dukuza. I can mention a lot of things that has happened currently during my time.
When asked to comment on the matter, KZN police said any issue relating to commissions will be responded to at an appropriate time. Nhlanhla Mabaso, Eyewitness News.
Government lawyers say proposed offshore oil and gas exploration off the west coast will bring safeguards and potential benefits for small-scale fishing communities. The Department of Mineral and Petroleum Resources granted Total Energies environmental authorization for ultra-deep water drilling in the deep Western Orange Basin from Saldanha Bay to the Namibian border in October 2023. An internal appeal by environmentalists to halt the authorization was then dismissed by government in April 2024, prompting them to approach the Western Cape High Court. Carlo Peterson reports.
The case was brought by the Okatoa Fisheries Cooperative along with the Green Connection and Natural Justice against the Department of Mineral and Petroleum Resources. Lawyers for the applicants today argued the department's approval was flawed and that offshore drilling threatens marine ecosystems while impacting the livelihoods of small-scale fishers along the coast. The department argues normal exploration activities would have a low impact on fishers. Generational Port Nolloth fisher and Okatoa founder Walter Steenkamp says small-scale fishers want to be included in the development.
We are not against development, but we have a bottom-up approach to development. And that is, we have a lot of natural resources.
Final arguments on the matter will be heard in court tomorrow. Carlo Peterson, Eyewitness News.
And Sweden has proposed a temporary reduction in taxes on petrol and diesel. This comes as energy prices soar due to the war in the Middle East. The tax cut is expected to take place on the 1st of next month until September. According to reports, the proposal has been supported by 3 government parties as well as the Sweden Democrats. The government says if necessary, it would apply for permission from the European Commission. A cloudy Tuesday in store for Gauteng tomorrow with scattered afternoon showers and thundershowers expected. Lows of between 17 and 19 degrees and highs of between 22 and 24.
Midrand traffic heavily backed up on Allendale Road between the R55 and Mastiff, while in Randburg, traffic pressure N1 southbound from Beyers Nordier to Winnie Mandela Drive, and also bumper traffic in Hermanstad, leaving the Pretoria CBD on Eskiam Pahlele between WF Nkomo and the R80.
The top story in EWN, a KwaZulu-Natal taxi owner attached to the KwaMaphumulo Taxi Association has told the Nkabinde inquiry he is living in fear of police because of deadly shootings.
The Midday Report.
Weekdays,
12 to 1.
What is the IEC doing about making sure that we get particularly young people registered?
We activated a tertiary institutions campaign where we're getting young people themselves to do registration on campuses. We're launching a cast to engage with them at that level, small.
Sai, I want to see you on TikTok.
Yes, indeed, you will see.
I want to see you making
there.
TikTok reels.
My speed might be compromised, but I'll attempt.
That's the way. Simon Mabolo.
The Midday Report
with Mandy Wiener.
12 to 1 on 702.
702.
Andile here with more than just a betting app ad. Download the 10Bet app and enjoy the action of betting anytime, anywhere. It's more than just an app. It's a 10Bet experience. Join now at 10bet.co.za. 10Bet is a licensed betting operator and supports responsible gambling. No person under the age of 18 shall be permitted to bet. Betting can be addictive. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counseling line is 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help to 076 675 0710.
This is what progress sounds like. At South African Airways, we've added more aircraft to the runway, increased our flights from just over 1,000 in 2021 to over 24,000 last year. And we continue to add more destinations and routes. It's steady progress over time. We know there's still work to do, but every day we're building something stronger. An airline that shares the resilience of the country it carries. South African Airways. Book your next flight at flysaa.com today.
Smart Steve from Momentum, hello.
Smart Steve, my daughter just turned 18, right? And now she's got her license and a boyfriend.
You're worried about her safety. With Momentum Safety Alert, she can access help 24/7.
Is that the emergency response version of Curry in a Hurry?
For sure. She can get help at the touch of a button for free.
Free? For all that and all?
Visit momentum.co.za or call 0860 006 784. Momentum Insure, keeping you safe on your journey to success. Momentum Insure is an authorized non-life insurer. T's and C's apply.
702.
WhatsApp us on 072 702 1702.
Hi, Taba. Good afternoon. That argument by Papano Pasha,
it's so pedestrian. It is so pedestrian. How do you even sell that to people? That government, if government is doing one thing, then it means it can't be doing something else. That's why you have so many government departments. If international relations is handling something, water affairs must handle water issues. I find it so pedestrian and so tiring. It's like, oh goodness, put some thought into an argument, man. Tsepo Soweto.
You know what? Everything that lady has said has got nothing to do with what ANC has done. We are aware of what ANC has done, and we are very grateful for what ANC has done for the people of South Africa, particularly the black people. However, in terms of we're talking about now, maintenance, the equality going, like we're not even one anymore. The tribalism going on because the level of inequality within class, forget just race, like you guys are not even maintaining anything, and you're just always going back to what you've done because of apartheid. We are grateful, but have you maintained? And you keep stealing and you keep stealing. Like, come on, ANC. Yawwa.
Hi there. Sorry, this guy from the ANC, he was so busy shooting the messenger that he completely ignored the message, which was all about corruption and not taking into account the economic realities of our foreign policy. So, shooting the messenger doesn't help. The message remains the same. Address the message, Mr. ANC.
Well, those are your views, and that came on the backdrop of the interview with Papano Pasha and Jerry Navari. Papano, independent political analyst, and she used to be with the ANC. At some point, she was a candidate for a ward councillor somewhere in the West Rand. And those who follow politics very closely that know that Papano has been an integral part of the ANC, at least locally. She remained under the radar for those who are not following closely, but she was with the ANC. She subsequently left the party, as far as I understand. She's now doing academia and many other things. But back to the issues at hand, and she's saying the march. You don't have any moral authority as the ANC to have undertaken such a march. You are faced with serious dilapidating issues here in the country. And I heard one of the voice notes there coming through and saying, yeah, that may be the case, but we can chew and run at the same time. 20 minutes to 6 o'clock.
EWN Sport
with Tolagele Mganga, and she'll tell us what's the latest in the sporting fields. Tolagele?
Thanks so much, Tabo. Well, Adeslam Madu believes that Rile Mofokeng could be the difference maker in Orlando Pirates' bid to win the Betway Premiership. They've moved a point clear of Mamelodi Sundowns, who have a game in hand in the standings following yesterday's 6-0 thumping of TS Galaxy, a game in which Mofokeng scored a hat-trick.
I think it's important for him, but it's important for the team, for the club as well. A boy that is scoring a hat-trick, it will give him trust, to give him confidence as well, to see that he can definitely perform at a high level. So it's good for him, it's good for the login for us in terms of goal differences. These 3 goals have to show him that it's not the end. He has to keep working, and maybe some more hat-tricks in the future as well.
Pep Guardiola doesn't believe that Manchester City's Carabao Cup success will have any bearing on the Premier League title race. The Citizens ran out 2-0 winners over Arsenal at Wembley on Sunday as they put to an end the Gunners' hopes of winning the quadruple. However, in the league, it's the London side who have the advantage as they're 9 points clear of Guardiola's charges.
No, will not have no impact. Different competitions, and they will be more concerned when they will come to Etihad. I don't know what the situation will happen. That title helped us a lot for the quarterfinals against Liverpool at home. That's for sure. With our people, that today all our side was completely blue. I'm so happy of course, to again being together, celebrating that. For that game, maybe will help us. But the Premier League is in their hands. I think they punish us a lot.
The 4 South African franchises will have everything to play for in round 13 of the United Rugby Championship as the playoff stages draw near. All 4 teams claimed wins this weekend, but the Sharks remain outside the top 8 ahead of the knockout rounds. The Bulls got their campaign back on track with a comprehensive 47 win over Cardiff, a game in which Johan Ackerman's men ran in 6 tries.
wanted to force every little line break we have. We forced another pass that's not necessary. So sometimes you have to just cut your losses and set up another phase and then play again, So that balance wasn't that great. The first half plan to up the tempo and don't give them a lot of opportunity to slow it down worked well. I think tonight quickly the people said it was some of our highest running meters, for our wingers and stuff. So that's good, So that's what we want. We want our players to work hard.
And the ECB have confirmed that Brendan McCullum will keep his job as England head coach despite their 4-1 Ashes drubbing by Australia. In addition to their poor performances, there were reports of excessive drinking by players while they were on a break, raising concerns about the dressing room culture. However, following a review, McCullum, Captain Ben Stokes and England Managing Director Rob Key will all keep their jobs, with the ECB backing the trio to put things right. Tolagele Mganga, Eyewitness News Sport.
EWN Traffic.
This EWN Traffic is brought to you by South African Airways. Get all-inclusive fares, your seat, your meal, your baggage. It's all in. Book at flysaa.com. Mr. Charlie, how do the roads look?
Well, at the stage in Ekurhuleni, there's traffic pressure in Boksburg, N12 eastbound, between Croft Road and Snake Road, while in Edenvale, slow-moving traffic heading into Bedfordview. That's the R24 westbound between Macro Store and the Giluli's interchange in Midrand. Traffic remains heavily backed up on Ellendale Road between the R55 and Mastiff, Santon, heading towards Midrand. You can still expect about a 30-minute delay. M1 northbound from Killarney Bends to the Butlu interchange, while in Randburg, there's traffic pressure. N1 southbound from Rivonia Road to Bayers Nordia. In Waterkloof, Pretoria, accident scene. This is on the N1 northbound near Garsfontein Road, causing heavy delays in both directions between the R21 Flying Saucer interchange and Linwood Road. If you come across any other traffic issues, kindly WhatsApp us on 072 702 1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
This is what progress sounds like. At South African Airways, we've added more aircraft to the runway, increased our flights from just over 1,000 in 2021 to over 24,000 last year. And we continue to add more destinations and routes. It's steady progress over time. We know there's still work to do, but every day we're building something stronger. An airline that shares the resilience of the country it carries. South African Airways. Book your next flight at flysaa.com today.
Stay with 702 Afternoon Drive with John Perlman. Brought to you by Telkom Business. Possible begins here.
For more about 702,
go to primemediaplus.com.
15 minutes to 6 o'clock. Welcome back. And we are still getting some reaction to the interview we had with Papano Pasha together with Jerry Navari. And they were arguing about, well, the debate was just around the ANC march. How relevant was it over the past few days? I think it was on the 21st to be precise. And to what extent did it serve the purpose of South Africa? And feel free to keep that conversation going on 072 702 1702. Alternatively, you could call us directly on 011 883 0702. But you do know that this time, right, if John Perlman was here, he would be chatting about music. Yep, so I'm not going to move any furniture. I will just walk along the path that he would have taken, because around about this time, it's that feature that you love so much where we chat about music, songs, and all those other things. I'd love to find out from you. You know, we've got great talent here in South Africa. Amazing musicians. I mean, we can really be at the top of the class with every other musician in the world. We do have amazingly talented individuals as a country, and some of the songs that you listen to in South Africa, you'd be forgiven for thinking that they are international hits, right? Plenty of songs. You'd listen to it and you'd think, oh, this is an international hit. Definitely. The entire world knows about the song, and it was not made here at home. Not that it's a wrong thing that it's produced here at home, but you think that, this is massive quality. So I wanted to ask you, what are some of those songs? You listen to it and you think, man, this song, no, it can't It was not produced here. It was really not produced here in South Africa. This is not our song. It was done somewhere else, and we took it. Yeah, there are many of those songs. And just to give you an example, I'm going to play one song. I'm going to ask Garabo to play one song now. And if you didn't know its history, you'd think that it's an internationally produced song from elsewhere. What are those songs for you that really don't sound South African? They're so good. They sound like an international hit. For me, it's this one. You'd remember this song very well, right? And it's called Paradise Road by Joy. And the song, I don't know if you remember the names of the ladies who were here. I think Toko Ndlozi, Annelien Malebo, Felicia Marian, and they together comprised of this beautiful band called Joy. A beautiful hit and very iconic. It was in the 1980 when this song first came out. It topped local charts for 9 weeks and became an unofficial anthem, often associated with hope and the end of apartheid. It was written by Patrick van Blerk and Francois Roos. Beautiful song. So, what's your South African song that sounds so international? You wouldn't believe it's South African. Let us know on 072 702 1702. Send a voice note to 072 702 1702. And I'll plead with Garabo to play you that song. 9 minutes to 6.
In the last 24 hours, this is what's happened in your world.
The bodies of all 5 mine workers at Ekapa Mine in the Northern Cape have been retrieved from underground. It comes after 2 bodies were pulled out yesterday at the operations in Kimberley. The remains of 1 miner were found about 2 weeks ago after the group was trapped in a mudslide.
Yes, we concluded this morning, so we took out all the people that was missing during the mud crash that occurred. And yes, it's nice for us to conclude and to give closure to the families and to be appreciative of our rescue team members that did this work safely for us.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent.
Imagine beginning your holiday to the sound of the ocean and ending it with a sunset encounter with the Big Five. Club Med is bringing their brand new beach and safari resort to KwaZulu-Natal this July. It's the first of its kind, combining a beachfront escape with a private safari lodge experience all in one holiday. Plus, it's fully all-inclusive. Think gourmet dining, activities, wellness, and more. Take advantage of the Club Med season opening sale from 24 to 27 March. Book at clubmed.co.za. T's and C's apply.
Let's hear from Chantal and Mel, owners of Jelly Body and Nail Studio, why it pays to switch to Outsurance Business Insurance.
We were with our previous insurer for about 4 years, and when we decided to switch, it was actually a flawless process. It definitely pays to switch.
For beauty salons, convenience stores, and all other businesses, get a quote today and see why it pays to switch to Outsurance Business Insurance. Visit outsurance.co.za or call 08600 60,000 today. Licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
Do you suffer from heartburn and hyperacidity? To relieve heartburn for the whole day and night with one tablet, a potent once-a-day treatment which was previously prescription only is now available over the counter. Ask your pharmacist for an over-the-counter, long-lasting heartburn treatment. Brought to you by Sandoz.
702 Drive with John Perlman was proudly brought to you by Telkom Business. Possible begins here.
702. WhatsApp us on 072 702 1702.
After Mr. Masha, Spongile Kumalo by Music in the Air. I thought that one can make it Mashi and Mapetla.
Let the music take you there. Far from the world, you know. You can feel it when you sing. Then you know love. There's a joy in everything.
Obviously a cover, right? Letambule did the original, but Mam Swangile, oh gosh, she did justice to every project she touched. Continue listening to your voice notes on 072 702 1702.
Hi, Tabo. A song that I think was produced somewhere over the big waters is Lira, Believer. That song sounds not South African. It sounds like an award-winning American song.
Hi, evening, Tabo. Pat here from Spyview. Yes, Lira as well. Something inside so strong. Great song. Great international song.
The higher you build your barriers, the taller I become. The further you take my rights away, the faster I will run. You can deny me, you can decide to turn your face away. No matter, 'cause there's something inside so strong. I know that I can make it, though you're doing me wrong, so wrong. You thought that my pride was gone. Oh no, something inside so strong.
Another cover, right? Lira does justice to it. Something inside so strong. 4 minutes to 6. Let's go to more voice notes. I'll try to squeeze in as much as I can.
Dadeshwele Mashao, Part of Someone by Peanut Butter Conspiracy. I thought that was British. JM.
Oh, yes.
Hey, Tabo and team. You can choose any song by the late TK. She sounded very international to me when she first came onto the scene. Love her music.
Someone
great TK, the late TK. May she rest in peace. Beautiful song indeed, somewhere out there, somewhere in the rim. And this is also another cover, I suspect. But oh man, Peanut Butter Conspiracy. I must give credit to that. What a band. What a band. Amazing. Let's go straight to your voice notes. 072-702-1702.
Hello, Tobo. Mona here. Another song, old song, was by the Staccatos, and it was Cry to Me, and that was also a South African band, and they were actually doing very, very well overseas.
When your baby leaves you all alone and nobody calls you on the phone, don't you feel like crying? Don't you feel like crying?
Amazing what South African artists can produce, right? So international. Our level is out there with the very best. It's been fantastic spending time with you. Just now, or just after the news at 6, Stephen Grotes will take you on The Money Show. I can't wait to hear about the university's debate, or discussion, I should say. Thanks for spoiling us and indulging us. Join us again tomorrow between 3 and 6.
Don't you feel like crying? Don't you feel like crying? Come on, baby. Oh, cry.
And now, The Money Show.
With Stephen Grotes, live on 92.7 and 106 FM. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
And DSTV channel 856.
The Money Show with Stephen Grotes is brought to you by Absa Islamic Business Bank, celebrating 20 years of banking rooted in values. Good evening. On your Money Show tonight, Isaac Oordendal and Nazar Jamin on today's incredible market yo-yo, inspired by Donald Trump as oil falls below $100 again.